Welcome to the Transform with Vance podcast, where transformations begin every day, and I am your host, Vance Hines. So let's get started. All right, this is Vance Hines, and I'm here with Scotty Bootz Georgeson. How do you say your last name, Scotty?
Georgeson, just Georgeson.
Georgeson. Scotty
Yes,
Bootz Georgeson. Well, that's just like it's spelled then, Georgeson.
Yeah, it's a little tongue twister.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
I am great. How are you?
I can't complain. I just got off the water. I've been fishing with my cousin, so I ran in here a little bit
nice.
late. I'm trying to get
That
something
works,
to eat.
man. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, man, thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got Scotty's another one of the DDP yoga success stories, and one of the past positively unstoppable champions. You were the 2020, I think, right? Positively
Yes, sir.
Unstoppable Challenge. All right, what I did for the other guys, I said start out, and I'm sorry, I'm finishing my chocolate bar.
I'll have at it.
State, could you give a brief kind of synopsis or explanation of why you're considered a DDPY success story, to kind of get someone's attention of why they want to sit here and listen to your story?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way I guess I've always kind of viewed my story, because there's such an amazing amount of incredible success stories with, extreme weight loss, and just, body toning, owning your mind, or, there's so many different ways that these stories could kind of find their niche within DDPY, which is why I love the program so much, because it's not just about weight loss. It really is about, a total reset of your mindset and putting you on a better path moving forward just in general. So I feel like there's so many stories that kind of fall in where I've always put myself, and I've always kind of felt, and the people that I would love to reach out to, and it's everybody, but I've always kind of seen myself as being, if you're that father or mother, and you've got 100 pounds to lose, and you're active, you're still kind of doing things, but you really want to shed off that 100 pounds and put your body into a better physical transformation. I've always kind of looked at myself with the dad bod, losing the weight and then rebuilding the body back up with that muscle definition and toning, because it doesn't have to stop with just the weight loss. And that's kind of been like the big thing with my journey. I spent the first half of my journey thus far really focusing on getting the weight off and staying consistent with that. And now I've been focusing a lot on rebuilding that body in my new image with muscle tone, definition, building up the arms, trying to slim down and tighten up the midsection. So that's been a hardcore focus of mine, for the last year plus now.
How much weight total have you lost?
So the total weight loss was 102. I started at 271 and then got down to my lowest at 169.
Where are you right now?
I couldn't even tell you. I haven't been on a scale since October of 2020. Once I saw 169 that October, I haven't touched a scale since, because to me, I guess I'd already kind of hit my lowest point. I knew 169 was as low as I was going to possibly get, so I never wanted to let the scale become a discourager for me, because my biggest concern is, as I changed up my eating habits a little bit, started focusing on building muscle, I didn't want to feel that discouragement of maybe getting up to 180, 185 from that muscle growth. So I've been focusing hardcore on just the lifestyle changes still, and I'll touch the scale again eventually just to kind of see where it's at, but very much focused on just feeling good, knowing how I feel with my body, my mind, with everything, and the scale's been an afterthought for a year and a half now, so it's kind of crazy to think it's been that long, but just kind of riding on High Street for now.
Well, how liberating is it to have that scale in the rearview mirror?
It's awesome. It's very liberating, and it was honestly one of my main things when I started the journey, as well, because when I first weighed myself March 9th of 2020, I had touched the scale maybe 5 or 6 times up until I saw that 169. So I was not weighing myself frequently at all, because my focus was very much based around the lifestyle change. I didn't let the scale tell me how I was doing. I let my lifestyle change tell me how I was feeling, and then the scale was just kind of a reaffirmation of that when I would hop on it, once a month, we'll say. So I try to really reprogram the mind and not let the scale tell me how I should be feeling. So that was very difficult in the beginning, but now having not touched the scale for a year and a half, it is extremely liberating for sure.
Well, man, I'm kind of interested in that because I haven't been on the scale for probably 3 or 4 weeks now, something like that. And that's after weighing every week for 4.5 years. And there is a lot of mental dread, mental anguish, going into the scale, especially when I knew I was eating bad, and then weighing and getting the bad results, and then posting it, and because I posted every one, good or bad, and then, after a bad weigh-in, the comments that came in, the good or the bad, you feel compelled to respond and thank the people that offering your help, advice and stuff, and it's a mental drain to do that every day for 4.5 years. I mean, it was such a good thing for me to do in the beginning, but toward the end, I think it became a detriment, like you said. So I tip my hat off to you for recognizing that early on in the process. I mean, you eliminated that after 1 year. It sounds like.
Yeah, it was a weird thing in the beginning too, because I didn't become a presence, I guess, with posting on the page up until I had just broke 200 pounds. And I was always kind of in there and seeing other people's posts and stuff, but I didn't really put my stuff out there because I think combination of, not ever being comfortable or used to putting myself in a vulnerable position like that, even though I felt very comfortable because it's always been so positive in there, but I think it was hard to put myself in that vulnerable of a position. And I think aside from that too, I didn't want to start putting myself out there in a way where I felt like I could try to help or inspire other people until I really knew I had my stuff on a lockdown, because I didn't want anything to get in between any mental cracks that I might have had. So when I started posting, I felt like at that point I had completely transformed myself mentally, even though the physical side, I was still working on things there with weight loss and everything. But I knew mentally I could kind of take it on and I could help people and share information if it came out. And the first time I went on there, wasn't even really looking for anything. It was just, hey, here's a comparison photo. If this helps anybody, one person, please let it do what it can, because there's been so many people posting in there that had helped me and shown me different things. So I figured if what I did could help one other person and that person could help one other person, it's all about kind of that domino effect of, Dallas created this program, it's trickled down to some people, and then it just kind of spiders out. And the more people you've got sharing, if it helps one person and that goes on to help 5 people and however have you, that's the way to do it. So by the time that I got to where I was and I could put that scale away, I knew 100% I have no problem putting myself out there in a vulnerable position anymore. Posting pictures of myself with my shirt off, oh my God, you look at me a couple of years ago, that would have been one of the scariest things in the world to me. And now I feel like, there's an utmost of confidence and feeling good about myself that I have no problem doing that. And I could care less about what anybody has to say about it too. That could have deflated me a couple of years ago. Now I could give 2 shits. I'll post what I want. I'll say what I want. And if it affects somebody and catches someone in the right time of the day, then I feel like, that it makes it that much more, gratifying for myself to know that might have impacted somebody that day too. So it's pretty nice.
Well, 2 things I would like to point out of that response that I think is really important. One is gaining that mental confidence to be able to do the things that you want to do and put yourself out there, into those vulnerable positions, and to try new things. And that I don't know if enough is said about the whole mental aspect of the side of the DDP yoga journey, because it's not just about losing weight or getting flexible. It's about a mindset that DDP has held himself to, pushes it out to other people positively. Positivity, being unstoppable. You can do anything. And it's that mindset that has helped so many people, and so it's awesome. I like what you're saying on that side. The other thing is of paying it forward. It's such a great community of paying it forward. People, where else on the internet, where can you get 70,000 plus people to be positive and supportive, and and just being there for people that need it while they're trying to lose weight, or change their life, whatever their circumstance is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm a huge, preacher about this stuff too, because everybody's going to find their own way and their own path. But the thing I love about the community, and I think what everybody kind of understands and gets, is no matter what kind of a journey you're on, for a lot of us, looking for health and everything, a lot of it is food addiction. And there's a lot of folks in there too, sober with alcohol, drug addiction, stuff like that, all very important things. But I think the most important thing that I love about this community, and I think what needs to be a huge focus of this, is everybody, regardless of where you're at on your journey, we're all in one pool. Me, I've lost the weight. I'm not going to lose any more weight than I have lost, but that doesn't mean where my journey is any different than somebody just starting, because the thing about it is it's not about the end goal. There is no end goal. The end goal is making this a lifelong practice. It's not just about losing the weight, because in essence, losing the weight could be the easiest part of the whole journey, but to maintain that and continue to focus on that mental transition, that really does become a lifelong practice. So you could have lost the weight, be 10 years down the road, and you're in the same boat as somebody just starting off, because it's all about maintaining that mindset. It's not hard to slip back to old habits. It's not hard to have a relapse, so to speak, with food and everything. It's very easy because everything is so accessible. So what I love about the community is everybody's in there helping each other out. There doesn't seem to be any kind of an arrogance or, people going in there just trying to flaunt or anything like that. We're all here to be healthy and own our health, whether you be on the first day of your journey, 10 years into your journey. Everybody is there to pick each other up, and I don't think there is one other spot on the internet where you can find something that's that positive. And if there's any bullshit that comes up, you've got everybody coming in there calling somebody out, and I've only seen that happen a couple of times. So it really is, in my eyes, the safest place. If you really want to put yourself out there in a vulnerable position and have people embrace that, you've come to the right spot, without a doubt.
Now, tell the people that don't know what spot on the internet you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the DDP Yoga community page, which 70,000 plus strong right now. And then the DDP Yoga Facebook page is great too, because they're posting constantly with a ton of success stories and things like that. But that community of people, that private group page that anybody can be a part of, it doesn't even matter if you are doing DDP Yoga right now or DDPY. Doesn't matter if you're looking for support to get started, or if you've already begun a health journey and you're not doing DDPY, but you want to be a part of a community that is there to be supportive with you and you can help and share where you're at, it's there for everybody. And I would highly recommend, if you're not doing DDPY, 100% look into it. But I mean, anybody who's looking to own their health and own their mind, this is the place to be, without a doubt. It just so happens to be the DDPY page.
And I'd like to point out here, the group is DDP Yoga, all one word. And if you get into Facebook and you start to search DDP Yoga, you're going to find that there's a tremendous amount of other groups out there that populate the search results, and all are good groups. I don't want to downplay any groups. Everybody. That's one thing about this community. No matter what. I'm gonna make an analogy here that might offend somebody, so I apologize up front. It's almost kind of like Pornhub. There's something for everybody, any taste, and I apologize if I offend somebody or if I, tell on myself. But, but the DDP Yoga group. Whatever you're into in your journey for your health and fitness, there's like-minded people that are set up with groups and support groups and workouts and all this stuff. It's amazing. But the main group, the main section that you want to be in to start it's DDP Yoga, all one word. It's a private group, and you have to answer a couple of questions to get in. But they let everybody in. As long as you're positive and supportive, you're in the group, and you can post whatever you want. I promise you it's safe in there. And like Scotty said, if there's anybody who says anything negative, the group takes care of itself. And there's and the fun thing is that I think that, one thing I find really cool about it is it's not really a DDP Yoga corporate group. This is a group of individuals that like to do DDP Yoga that started doing it, and they're their own self-administrators. And the only exception to that, I think Steve Yu is part of one of the administrators, the president, but he wasn't one of the ones that started the group, the core people who started the DDP Yoga Facebook group. It was just a bunch of people that like doing DDP Yoga, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that page is blowing up too, which is awesome. I mean, to think of how many people are in there sharing daily, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you post something, it's gone pretty quick. There's so many people posting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
All right, man. I want to learn more about you. Now I get to pick your life apart. This is where the lawyer comes out in me.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right.
Let's do it.
Well, first I got to know what Bootz is.
Yeah, so Bootz, it's a very sentimental thing for me, and I'm so happy that it found a place to kind of take off a little bit here and tie it to my name. So my nickname that was given to me by my mom when I was a young kid, 4 or 5 years old, as long as I can remember, was Bootzilla. I always had this infatuation with Godzilla. I still do. I absolutely love Godzilla and that whole monster kind of universe. And I don't know where she had come up with it, but she had just called me Bootzilla, and then she would always call me Scotty Bootz for the longest time. Just Scotty Bootz, Bootsy Bootz, and that was just kind of the thing that I had with my mom for the longest time. And it never really escaped outside of that. Outside of a Bears jersey I had of Rashaan Salam back in the 90s, where I had removed Salam off of it and put Boots on it. So I created my own little jersey when I was a kid. And yeah, and it's just kind of always been this thing with me and my mom. And years kind of passed by, and then I said, hey, you know what? I've always been associated with this. I've always kind of loved having the nickname to it. So I added it to my Facebook profile just to be Scotty Bootz Georgeson. And almost about 4 years ago now, my mom had passed away just very suddenly, and it was just a kind of a freak out of nowhere thing that had happened. She had gotten cancer, and within a couple of weeks, it was just diagnosis and gone. So it was a crazy time. And
I'm sorry, what kind of cancer was it went that fast?
So they couldn't even really tell. I remember sitting in the room with my mom because she had called, her sister had called me, and I went to the hospital with her, and it was so late to when they'd actually caught it. It was pretty much her entire abdominal, so they couldn't even pinpoint where it started. It was just, this is where we're at. The best we can do is try to make you comfortable. We're looking at a couple of months, best case. And then it was 3 weeks later. that was it. So I spent as much time with her as I could. They kept her pretty much in a facility on hospice and stuff. And I just,
crazy,
just kind of wrote it out. It was,
it was
a very,
sorry to hear that, man.
I appreciate it. It was a very trying time for sure.
I've been through I lost my dad to a car wreck. So, that's as sudden as it gets, just up gone. And then my mother made it into her 80s and lost it to COPD and kind of dementia type stuff. So, you just see her kind of just waste away to something that you don't even recognize anymore, and she doesn't recognize you, and both ways are hard. There ain't no easy path in losing a parent in this world, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it sucks, and it definitely sucked when it happened. It happened right after my second oldest daughter. She had just turned 1, so kind of replaying that through my head, knowing that she wasn't going to be there to see her grow up, and now we just had our son now who's going on 1 pretty soon. It's just it's crazy to think that she's not there to see her 2 grandkids. Luckily, I have an oldest daughter who's 17, so she got to be with her and stuff, which is nice. But it was a very complex relationship because my mom had a very complex history with alcohol and pills and stuff as well. So I grew up around that, and a lot of my relationship with her later in life was very focused on trying to get her clean, and it was hard. The whole thing was just very complex, but I knew after that had happened, there was a big point in my life where I didn't want to see myself going down that path, and thankfully I've never had a situation with substance abuse and stuff, but the food thing had always been my crutch. Emotional eating, stress eating, I mean, you name it, I went to food with every single thing. And once that had happened, it was a big wake-up call. It took me a little bit to really get my ass in gear, but I knew I wanted to have that name Bootz tied to me, just in a sense to honor my mom, but kind of carry that on because it was always such an important part of what my positive relationship was with her. And it kicked in because Pat McDermott hit me up, and he goes, "Hey, man, like, do you want to be referenced as, Scott Georgeson, or do you want Scotty Bootz Georgeson?" And there was just this moment with him, and I was like, "No, dude, I want the Boots in there." And I never had thought about it until he had asked the question. And he goes, "Dallas just keeps saying Scotty Bootz all the time." And I'm like, I want Boots, man. Like, I want Boots to be a part of this. And ever since then, like, Scotty Bootz has been a thing. And I love having that there because it's such a nice reminder and a positive memory of me with my mom, too. So it has a very, very deep sentimental meaning for me. So it's been awesome.
Well, that's cool. Bootzilla. So
Yeah,
if I got the timeline right, you lost your mom 4 years ago. You said something like that, and then you started this program 2.5 years ago. So you've been, you started it back about a year and a half after you lost your mom.
Yeah, and it was an interesting time too because after all of that, I was kind of on my own health journey for a bit there. I had done a weight loss competition for work, and this is I guess just to kind of like add insult to injury to how important it is to maintain, and the weight loss is not everything. I had lost about 50 pounds or so, somewhere around there, through this weight loss competition I had done. So I'd gotten down to about 215, 216 something. And as soon as that weight loss competition was over, which I had won because I was going hard with all that, I went right back to my old habits, gained everything back and then some. And before I knew it, that's when I got up to 271. So I had found a lot of success while focusing on it, but I didn't change my mind. And that was the big piece that changed when I had done this starting in 2020 is I lost the weight. Yay me, but I didn't do anything about rewiring my mindset. So the second I knew I could go back to old habits, I did it immediately. And, it was crazy. That was a crazy time, too.
Well, shit, man, you commit yourself. I mean, you lose your mom, do a weight loss, gain it all back, then do another weight loss competition. You're definitely a committed individual. You're not scared of a challenge, it doesn't sound like to me.
No. I'll dig in if it calls. I'll dig in. I'm very thankful that this time around has been more of a life change and not just a weight loss change. It's a very much new lifestyle moving forward.
So tell me, what did you do for the weight loss challenge? What did you do to lose the 50 pounds and over what period?
Yeah, so when I had done that with work, that was I wasn't doing DDPY at that time. I'd actually purchased the old YRG discs. It was I think 9 years ago. I just popped up on my timeline. I'd met Dallas about 9 years ago here in Chicago, and I went because out of any wrestler, and I love wrestling, but out of any wrestler, he's the one person I would go to a convention to meet because he was my favorite wrestler growing up. So I said, I'm going to go meet Dallas at this convention because this is my one chance to be like, thank you for so much in my childhood, and you're my favorite wrestler, and I appreciate everything from that area of life. I just want to be able to shake the man's hand and tell him. And I did. I was able to do that. It was great. I purchased the discs at that time. I found a lot of success with them then. I loved the program going back to then, and I just shelved it for years and let health spiral out of control. So when I got to the weight loss competition at work, I was just basically doing almost the same At that time, I'll call it a diet because it wasn't a lifestyle change. It was just a diet for me. So I stuck to the low carb, cut out the sugars, kind of calorie counted a little bit and stuff, but really just, low carb and no sugar. And I focused on that, lost a lot of the weight, wasn't exercising all that much, but a little bit here and there. But the second that I hopped off that competition, I went right back, to those old habits with everything. But just low carb was kind of the main thing I focused on because all I cared about was winning the competition. It wasn't about finding my own journey. I just wanted to win this competition.
What'd you win?
So it's kind of funny because I'm a huge collector, as you can see behind me, and I post about my collection all the time. There was a signing for Arnold Schwarzenegger that was coming up, and it was a little pricey to get his autograph. So the inside joke with me and my brother at the time was we started calling it weight loss for Arnie because I won about $600 through that weight loss competition, and I was like, well, my motivation to win this is so I can fund the autograph that I want of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it became this weight loss for Arnie journey. I got the money, I got the autograph. It's upstairs. It's amazing, So that I've got a great emotional tie to that beyond just being a Terminator fan and Arnold fan, but it was tied to this weight loss competition too. So that's what I did. I funded my autograph.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? For me, I can't speak for others, but I really think that's one of my biggest problems with the low carb, and that's what I'd lose the most weight on the quickest. If I just eat meat and green veggies, the weight's gonna fall off. I'm gonna lose it, but eventually I'm gonna eat a carb, and then when I do, it's almost like my body craves it, and I just start binging on those carbs. It's crazy. I don't know if you had similar circumstances, but I know I'm horrible. In fact, I'm trying to get in with this month. There's this therapist, a psychologist, month weight. I'm trying to get into her to see if I do have a binge eating disorder. But it's when I eat, when I restrict the carbs, the weight falls off, and I feel tremendous just eating protein and green veggies. I mean, just tremendous. But as soon as I started introducing carbs, I have no control over it, and it's just I just binge. As long as I'm not eating them, I don't have that problem. But as soon as I start eating them, I can't control it. It's weird. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, 100%. When I started this whole thing, it was really hard for me to kind of take a realistic look as to what I was doing to my body, and I probably didn't really acknowledge it until I was a month or two in. Once I feel like I got past the sugar cravings and like the sugar withdrawals with everything, my head cleared up so much. So I was able to take like a realistic look back as to how I was treating myself, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just flat out ridiculous. But what I was doing, I mean, almost on a daily basis, this was almost a regular routine. And I don't even want to think about the money that went into this. But I'd wake up, I'd get ready for work. On my way to work, I would either grab usually McDonald's or Chick-fil-A because it's right there. So I'd get a Chick-fil-A meal to start the day, or a couple of like sausage McMuffins and an orange juice, whatever it was. That would start the day.
That's what I would do. Work. That's my exact those damn chicken nugget biscuits.
Oh man,
from Chick-fil-A. Yeah. It was like they got sugar in them. Man, those things are good. I'd get two of those. I don't know, 8 packs or whatever, or I'd get 2 sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffins at McDonald's. Those are my 2 favorite breakfasts when I was eating.
We're one and the same right there. Those were the go-tos, man, every morning. And I would kind of fast out the morning after that. But once we got to lunch, I had an hour. It's like, all right, what do I do with my time? I would go spend probably $15 or $20 on a giant lunch from McDonald's or KFC or Wendy's or, I mean, whatever, Chipotle, Qdoba. Anything I could just go get and just binge out on, but that wasn't ever good enough for me. I'd go have a really big lunch. I'd usually go to the store after that and buy a bunch of candy, and not like Jolly Ranchers or Skittles kind of thing. I'm like a chocolate kind of a guy, so I'd get like a big bag of like Hershey's bars and whatever have you, and that's what I would munch on for the rest of my lunch, and then through the end of my day, and like the big bags, and I'd clean them out by the end of the day, no problem. Then I'd be going home, and I'd stop because we had a Walgreens right outside our subdivision. Usually would stop, maybe get a box or two of candy from there, grab a 20 ounce or 20 ounces of pop. I would chug one of them, eat the candy before I'd get home, which was literally a minute away, but I'd get through it as fast as I could because I was trying to hide the food from getting home. And then I'd get home, have dinner. The majority of the time, wouldn't eat with the family. We'd have dinner together, but I would get my own unhealthy meal or make my own unhealthy meal. And, we would all eat dinner, get the kid to bed. And after that, I would go back out to Walgreens before they'd close. I would get another thing of pop, usually a pint of Ben & Jerry's, maybe another box of candy, and I would veg out in front of the TV, go to bed bloated and feeling absolutely ridiculous, sleep it off, wake up, and, repeat on and on. And I think the only reason, that I didn't spiral like ridiculously out of control. I mean, 271 for me was terrible in my eyes, but it was as bad as I had gotten because I was still very active. I play music in a band, so we're playing out once or twice a week, and that's a lot to be moving equipment and performing for 3 or 4 hours. And so I think just being able to keep up actively prevented me from really, really just spiraling more and more out of control. But I look back at how that was, and I had to, face the facts. I was a food addict, and I am a food addict. I'll be an addict for the rest of my life. It's just a matter of not letting that take over. It's keeping these new principles in. So what I did is I built rules for myself. To me, I was like, if I'm going to mentally overcome the food addiction and the cravings and the binging and all that, I had to build rules for myself. And what I did is when I went in and started in March of 2020, I said, the scale was a big thing. I'm not going to sit on a scale and check it weekly or every other week. I only checked it a handful of times. But I said, I'm going to stay off the scale. I'm going to stick to my regimen. There is no cheat days. There's no cheat meals. There's nothing. This is a new way of life. I'm going to change everything with how I'm eating. I'm going to get my exercise in. And I stuck to that for the first 7 months. I did not have anything outside of what I built rules for myself for the first 7 months. Because I said, if I can make it until I lose the weight, I'll allow myself to have that cheat day once in a while. But it can't be a random thing. I can't just go, today's the day and do it. I have to plan it out for myself. So I would plan a day, usually on like a wrestling pay-per-view with my brother, because we'd get together and I'd say, all right, in 3 weeks, I'll push as hard as I can, and that Sunday, I'll have my cheat day, and I'll plan it out. I'm going to get a pizza for myself, maybe get some ice cream, maybe have a beer with my brother, and that's it. So now I know there's nothing from now until then. And once that day's over, I wake back up Monday morning, and I'm right back on the regimen that I'm on. So I had to build those rules to overcome that stuff, because if you get lazy one day and you just say, screw it, you have something on a Monday. Well, Tuesday becomes a lot easier to do that same thing. Or maybe you're strong on Tuesday, but Wednesday gets easier. For me, if I told myself 3 weeks out from today, that Sunday is my day, that kept me focused for those 3 weeks, allowed me to go off the rails on that day for a little bit, and then I'm right back on to where I needed to be Monday. So it helped me mentally to just build rules in and stuck to those.
Why 7 months in the beginning?
The biggest thing for that is I looked at it as saying I have spent years abusing my body and fluctuating with weight and doing whatever I want. If I'm serious about this, if I want to change not just the weight but my mindset and change everything, there's no excuse that I can't treat my body 100% perfect to my new lifestyle for 7 months. And there was no time frame in the beginning to say 7 months. I just said I'm not going to have a cheat day or have anything outside of my regimen until I hit my lowest weight. And it was a Sunday, ironically. I had weighed myself. I was 169, and I said, all right, today's the day. I'll allow myself to have a cheat meal. And I got a pizza and I got some ice cream, and it was magnificent. But it's keeping that stuff and learning different behaviors and not saying, well, hey, I lost 3 pounds this week. Well, now I can afford to have something on the weekend, because that's what I used to do before. You lose a couple pounds, you feel good when you see it on the scale, but ultimately it gave me the excuse to now do something over the weekend because I felt good. And then I'd feel like shit waking up Monday because I'd see 5 pounds added on. So it's that mental swing of ups and downs like that I was just like, I'm eliminating all of this. I'm going as hard as I possibly can. I don't give a shit what the scale says. I'm just going to go as hard as I can. And my body reacted within the first couple of weeks. I noticed how good I was starting to feel, and I just rode that wave for as long as I could.
Where did you get this regiment or this discipline outlook on life? Is it something you made up? Is it something you copied? Or what? I mean, how did you get to the point, where you're this regimented in your life?
Yeah, so this for me, I mean, I built this all myself. I had support from my brother, which he was extremely helpful because my brother is very, very health conscious. He takes very good care of himself. He's a shit brick house. I mean, he just takes very, very good care of his body. So I talked to him, and I was kind of nervous about intermittent fasting because I understood the benefits of it, but psychologically it was like, well, I'm skipping meals. I can't do that. But he really helped me to understand, like, listen, just go forward with it. Cut out the carbs, calorie count, which I never wanted to do, but I did. So I stuck to the calorie counting at first. I cut out the carbs. I cut out the sugars. And when I mean cut out the sugars, I mean 100% nothing. There were no sugary beverages. There was no sugar in food, no candy, nothing. I drank nothing but water. And I'd get like little flavored water packets from Walmart if I really needed something just to kind of give a little bit of a flavor. 0 calories, 0 sugar water packet, maybe once a day just to have something. But other than that, I cut it all out. So my rules for myself was no sugar, no carbs, and cutting the calories down. So I stuck to that. High protein, lots of meats and all that stuff, lots of eggs and whatnot. That was the new lifestyle change for food, and I just built that in. I did that for the first 3 or 4 weeks before I started bringing in the exercise, because to me exercise has always been easy. There's nothing to finding 30 minutes in your day and doing it, but if you can't maintain the food, you're fighting yourself. So I said I got to get the food under control. So I focused there first, and then my rules for the exercise was I have to do it at least 2 days, and I can't take more than 1 day off. So if it was a Monday and a Tuesday that I exercised and Wednesday I didn't feel like it, I didn't put the mental pressure on myself. I said, all right, I'll take Wednesday off. And I was okay with making that decision in the moment because the rule was then I had to do it Thursday and Friday. And if I did that Wednesday, taking that day off, I stayed committed. I made sure Thursday and Friday I do it. So it was always no less than 2 days on, no more than 1 day off. And I stuck to that for probably 3-4 months, and then it started turning into a daily thing where Sunday became my rest day, and then it eventually just turned into every day I was doing it, and maybe occasionally I'd take a Sunday off. But those initial rules helped me so much because I was so determined and feeling so good that there was no more firing from the hip every day. I knew exactly what I needed to do every single day, and I just stayed very committed to that and focused.
What exercises did you start with?
So it's been all DDPY from the beginning. So I pulled out the old YRG discs. I dusted them off, popped them in, stuck a lot to the fat burner workout because I've always loved the fat burner workout in there. Below the belt was a big one. And then once I felt my body kind of getting stronger and doing good, I started doing the diamond cutter workout more regularly. But the discs, I mean, I literally did everything on the discs from March of 2020 all the way through going down to Atlanta in December. I was doing nothing but the disc. I didn't get on the app until I had lost all the weight, and I've been on the app ever since now, which is miles ahead of where the discs were. I mean, it's incredible. But I did everything from those discs I purchased from Dallas, 8-9 years ago. Everything started with the discs, and then I moved over to the app.
What made you try DDP yoga over anything else?
The biggest thing I think is I knew how good I felt with it when I had first gotten the program from Dallas years back. I'd stayed committed for probably about 3 months then, and I was not as big as I was. I was maybe sitting at about 220, maybe 215 at that time. But I felt so good. I felt the strongest I'd ever felt just because of all the core stuff that you're building. And so I remember the good feelings I had from then. And then I tried picking the discs up a couple of times. I even, my yoga mat that I do all my DDPY on is a DDP yoga mat that I had gotten maybe 5 years ago now. So that was like when I tried again, and it was my motivation boost. Like, I'm going to get the mat now. I'm going to do it on the mat. And then I fell on my ass again. So I've always had the mat sitting there in the corner. I've had the discs sitting on the shelf. I tried P90X in the past. I had done the Insanity workouts in the past. And yeah, the workout felt good, but my body reacted very negatively to that too, because I would feel beat up. My knees would be sore. It was too much to do. So I put the discs back in. I started working on them, and I think it became an addiction from doing the workouts and focusing so much on, what I was putting into my body, because when those two things started working together and I felt my mind getting more clear, all that stuff just kind of spiraled at the perfect time for me, where there was nothing else that mattered. The only thing I wanted to do was DDPY. I didn't look anywhere else because everything I needed I was getting, and that was just from the discs. Once I got on the app, that opened up a whole new world for me too, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's like going from a horse-drawn carriage to a Formula One car, it's they're two wholly different animals, everything that's on that app. That's my Formula One reference for the day. I've become a big Formula One fan since watching all of the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. So if you need a Formula One anything, I can answer that. But let me ask you. Let me back up some. How old are you?
I'm 35, and I'll be 36 in December. So,
35. You're half a 70.
Young, as we'll say. Yeah.
And you live in Chicago.
Yeah, just a little bit north.
Did you grow up in Chicago?
Yeah. I've lived here my whole life. We're kind of about 15 minutes away from the Wisconsin border, so downtown Chicago and downtown Milwaukee is about 45 minutes each way, so we're almost like sandwiched right in the middle.
Shit, it just sounds cold when you put it that way.
Yeah, our weather's fun. It's nice today. It's beautiful out today. But
shit, it's north of Chicago, south of Milwaukee. It just sounds cold.
Yeah, we have fun in the winter sometimes. That's for sure.
So you a Green Bay Packers fan or a Chicago Bears fan?
Bears all day. As much as they piss me off, I still love the Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah.
So, do you know, well, I'm sure you do, Stephanie Trujillo Kelly? Yeah. How far do you live from her? She's up in Chicago somewhere, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a hair south. She's in Yorkville. She's maybe about an hour 15, hour 20 from me. So we actually had gotten together last summer. Her and her husband were super generous. Did a meetup over at her house. So that was the first time we'd actually met in person, which was awesome. So yeah, we'd all kind of went there. Travis Mahaffey was out there and stuff too, which was really nice. So we had a little kind of powwow.
And wait a minute. Hey, tell me Travis is a dick.
I can't do it. I love him.
Oh man,
I love him, man. I love him.
I hadn't found anybody that doesn't like him, but say one unkind word about him. I'm going to find somebody that's not a fan of Travis Mahaffey one of these days.
He's a beautiful man. I love him. One of the funniest things that had happened too, because this didn't even cross my mind, but like I've always. Just by random thing, because my dad always did it, the whole bug-eyed thing. And I'd taken my starting picture with that, and for whatever reason, I just started doing that for every front-facing picture. And that happened to catch on randomly, but Travis comes up, he's like, dude, I got to get a picture of you with the eyes. And I was like, I didn't even think that was an actual thing, So like, it was a kind of a fun moment with him there. But yeah, Travis is great. Stephanie's great. She's actually came up in February, and I think April, she had came up to a couple of shows that the band was doing, so that was really nice. So we got to talk a little bit then, which was cool, and we're actually doing a little meetup thing here within about a month, almost about a month out here. So we're doing another cool thing. Everybody's getting together. I think Justin Dobbins for sure is coming with his family, which is going to be great. Caitlin's coming out and stuff, so it's going to be awesome. It's nice to have kind of a central hub for people to get together once in a while, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, that's cool. Man, it's such a community. That's Stephanie's. She's a hoot. She's funny.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
Does Justin and Travis, did they take part of their road show up that way, or are they doing a new one up that way?
Yeah, so that's kind of a funny thing. They were supposed to when they had done their last one. The whole plan was for them to come through, and we were going to get together, but that's. Long behold, Stephanie ended up being a champion, and that time that they were coming through is when she was going to be down in Atlanta. So we're like, oh, okay, guess this ain't going to work. We can't really say anything about it because nothing had been formally announced yet, so we kind of kept that on the DL. So yeah, hopefully if they do that again, we can plan it out. But Travis is coming out again for this too, which will be really nice. So
That's cool.
He's just flying in with the wife.
Now if I understand right, he's in North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere over there. So he's a fair. I mean, he's not close to you. He's just coming in. Huh?
Yeah. He's got some buddies too, who I had met. They were at Stephanie's. I'm blanking on names now. Forgive me, but when he was in the military and stuff, he had a good friend from there that actually lives in Chicago. So it works out good because they get together. We did our thing, and so he's out here somewhat often. It seems like just for him and his buddy to get together, which is nice. So
that's cool.
Kind of killing two birds.
What instrument do you play in your band?
So for this group, all cover music. We actually just released an originals album, but I do all the vocals. I'm the lead vocalist, and I play bass. And then primarily I'm a guitar player, but I had switched to bass for this group because my buddy Danny, who plays guitar too, is a phenomenal guitar player. So it worked out really well for us to kind of do this the way, because we're only a trio, just drums, guitar, bass, and I sing. So we're just a power trio, and it's been working out awesome.
What kind of music?
So the cover stuff is a very good blend of 60s through 90s. So we'll do...
Man.
Yeah, we try to keep it fun because it's like we'll go out there and play Tom Sawyer by Rush, but then right after that you're going to hear Get Ready by the Temptations. So we mix it up very kind of fun to keep you on your toes, but Rush, Sabbath, Zeppelin, Metallica, the Temptations, the Beatles, the Doors, the Who. So we're kind of all over the place with it.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
What's the name of the band?
So band name is Six Speed Tranny. So kind of like a transmission. We have to put that disclaimer out there now.
Well, that's I wasn't thinking when you said tranny. I wasn't thinking transmission. I can tell you that. That's back to my Pornhub analogy. You know, that goes back to my other analogy I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that would have been the band name in today's culture, but this was 10 years ago when nobody's thinking about that stuff. So now it's like... So it is a car transmission for anybody wondering. But it was very innocent 10 years ago.
That's right. All right. Well, you know, my little brother. You sound like my little brother. He plays guitar and bass.
Oh hell yeah!
But he started out with bass and guitar, but you know I think he plays bass more than he does guitar. There's always seems to be more guitar players than bass players, and so most of the times he's having to switch and play bass, which he does either one of them phenomenal. But you know, it always just surprises me that he just sits down with people he hadn't seen in years, and they can all play a whole set of this. You know, like it's like they can pick up any music or song or anything. You know what I mean? They say, "Well, what key? What you know?" It's just, and then they go do their own thing, and it's amazing the people that really know what they're doing. You know, it's definitely an art, man, a talent.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Music has been, it's been my life since I was a kid. I grew up watching my dad play, and that's a big reason why I do bass for this group, because my dad's a bassist, by heart, and so I was like, yeah, I'm cool with this because it's for my dad too. You know, I love being able to do it, and so watching him play throughout my entire childhood, he got me my brother's first guitar when I was 8 and he was 6. So I'd always kind of pick on his guitar, but I had my first acoustic actually sitting right here next to me, my first guitar. So I got that when I was 8. So I was always interested, always kind of loved it. But the first time that I heard Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix, it was lights out. And then I fell in love. I've always loved Hulk Hogan, but I fell in love with him with the NWO, because every time he'd come out playing that championship belt to Voodoo Child, had to, man. So when I actually was at Dallas's and he's got the belt out, I was like, man, I gotta play. And I pulled it out. I started jamming onto some Voodoo Child, man, because it was just like, that was such a moment for me, because that song was so impactful for me as a kid.
Man, Jimmy's something else.
Man, he's the best, man.
So what would you compare your vocal style to? I'm just curious. Normally when you ask a musician, almost to a man, I hope I don't offend you by this, but
let it out.
Everyone says there's nobody out there that's really doing what I'm doing. And mine's a little different. But I'm just curious, what would you consider your vocal style and playing style, your closest person to be, or your biggest what do you call it? Biggest influence?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've got a handful for sure. So I guess when it comes to guitar, influence there very much, and bass too. I guess guitar and bass, very much my dad would always be front in line because he introduced me to wanting to be a musician and just falling in love with the art of playing an instrument. So my dad will always be my number one. But for guitar, Jimi Hendrix would be right there for sure. Stevie Ray Vaughan. I like Jimmy more than Stevie, but the way that those two could make a guitar sing and take it beyond just being an instrument is super inspirational for me. When it comes to bass, I'm a huge Kiss fan. Gene Simmons, even though people say what you will about him as a musician, I have so much love and respect for him as a bass player because there was one thing that I'll never forget when he said, when you hold that bass and you hit that bass, like that thing is a weapon. And I was like, man, dude, you're right, because you got to beat the shit out of that thing to make that bass just crunch. And when I play bass, I play hard. I mean, I've broken my low E string multiple times on that thing because I go hard on that. So Gene Simmons would be a big component there. Vocally, I feel very fortunate and blessed to have a pretty wide range vocally. So what I always try to do more than anything is emulate the vocal styles of the bands that we're playing. So when we're playing Rush, I'm very much, channeling my inner Geddy Lee, and I really let that sing out. When we're playing Metallica, I will bring in that raspy voice like James Hetfield. Same thing with like an AC/DC song. I'll go out there and hit my Bon Scott, as best as I can. So I really try to emulate the vocal styles of whoever we're performing, and I feel good that I do a decent job with all of that there. Sometimes by the end of the night, I'm feeling it. It might hit me by the next day, but I really try to emulate as best as I possibly can, each vocalist of that song that we're performing.
Have you ever heard a band called Mofro, or I think his guy's named J.J. Gray, something Gray, and Mofro?
Oh,
they're out of Florida. It's got a lot of funk to it and a lot of...
Yeah, not offhand, though.
But my little brother always likes the music that's got some funk to it, But those old, you ought to listen to the podcast and meet Seth Barnes. He plays out. Took his podcast early, and he plays for a band out in California. And dang, I can't get the name off the top of my hands right now. But he reckoned their style, compared it mostly to Sublime, and he thought it was like a Sublime group. And but he plays the guitar, and I don't think he sings. I think he just plays. But we had the guitar conversation, all the guitarist conversations, and he's a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, and seeing him play in those old Austin Limits where he's just sweating and, making that sucker sing, it's amazing, man. He's from Oak Cliff originally, and then grew up playing in Austin, and I'm about 20 miles from Oak Cliff, but I think he was a little older than I am. I'm 57, but we can remember to the day that helicopter went down and we lost Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, it's about as tragic as it gets right there too. It's to think if we had him and or Jimmy still around, like what could have been with all of that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it got damn sure gone too soon.
Yeah, way too soon.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Ian? Shit, I can't remember his name right now. Ian. I can't think of his name. What about Eric Johnson? You ever heard any Eric Johnson?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
I saw him back in the 80s in Dallas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, back before he was, as big as he was. But he was getting down in the 80s. That was about the time his first album came out.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster.
Yeah, God, what's Ian Moore? Let me look. But
Not sure.
I took his podcast on my other podcast, Extra Usual. Ian, the guy's pretty good, but he kind of goes off into all kinds of different music. His dad is like a one of the Buddhist experts, one of the most authoritative Buddhist experts in the country, or something like that.
Wow, yeah, it's pretty wild.
And so Ian Moore, that's his name. And so he grew up in Austin, and he's a hell of a guitar player. But he lives out off of Seattle on some island out off of Seattle now.
That's cool.
Austin got two different for him. You know, he liked it back in the 80s. He was growing up right there around Stevie Ray. He come around, I think, just a hair behind Stevie Ray through Austin.
Oh, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
anyway,
pretty wild.
Yeah. But hell, I can talk music all day, but
all day. I got all my shit right here, man. I got my piano right in front of me, all my guitars. I'm surrounded by it.
But I'm somewhat of a troglodyte, you know, when talking to music, because I played piano when I was a kid. My mother made me, but I hated it. And so I never took, but I took it for like 5 years, all through elementary school. She made me, you're gonna take piano, but I never, I never took. But I did learn how to play the rhythm to. Was it? You don't spit on Superman's cape. You don't. The wheels off the old road Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. Old Jim Croce song. I learned that on the piano back in the day. But anyway. So you said you got something. So tell me, you're married, I guess, that's not an assumption in this day and age. These, a lot of people don't get married
we're close
anymore.
Enough. Yeah, we're in that boat. We've been together almost 11 years, so even though Illinois doesn't recognize it as common law, I always say she's my common law wife. Well, but we're almost 11 years.
Well, you need to be careful. I don't know how it is in Illinois, but in Texas, to get a common law wife, you got to have an agreement to be husband and wife. So you've got to look to say this date, May 13th, 2022 forward, we are husband and wife. So, doesn't have to be in writing, but there just has to be some meeting of the minds, an agreement to be husband and wife. Then you got to live together and hold yourself out as husband and wife. And to third parties. And so it sounds like you hit that third element. You're holding yourself out as husband and wife. You may be, I don't know about the other, and you're cohabitating. I don't know what the other elements in Illinois are, but you may be husband and wife.
They don't even recognize common law in Illinois. It's not even a thing. So we just kind of say it as a joke. And it was funny because, so I'm Greek as well. So we celebrate like our Orthodox Greek Easter every year.
Yeah.
And my brother introduced the missus as my girlfriend. And she pulls me aside like after the day. She's like, your brother introduced me as your girlfriend. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Because like we're well past those kinds of introductions.
So
that was pretty fun.
You're Greek. Georgeson is Greek.
So, fun story. So Georgeson was our English translation. So when my great-grandfather came over, our actual last name, as it's spelt out, is Georgantas. So it looks like Georgantis, but it's actually pronounced in Greek. It's Yotagadas.
Say it again.
So it's a Yotagadas.
Yotagadas.
Because the G's like a euro, it's got the yeah, so it's Yotagadas is how it's technically pronounced. So they had translated it to the English translation of Georgeson once they had come over. So no Greek to it at all anymore, but the old name was Yotagadas before they had decided to change it.
Man, I love some Greek food, man. We go eat Greek a few times. That's one of our treats to go eat some Greek food, lamb and domas,
Yeah.
and oh man, do you
It's the
like
best, man.
do you like your domas cooked cold or do you like them hot in butter?
Anything. I'm good with any which way.
Either
Like,
way.
and I honestly, I don't eat Greek food as much as I probably should. I normally kind of save it all up for the Greek Easter because we
Yeah.
go hardcore. I mean, we got a full lamb on a spit, and we put that thing on, and we spin that thing by hand for probably 7 hours or so. So it's like
Damn.
fresh lamb. We got a Euro machine. We got all the. I mean, it's just off the wall. I love it.
Man, I spent some time in England, Scotland back in the day in the early '80s. I just killed those Heroes machines, man. They had them on almost every corner. I lived on those damn Hero meat, man.
Oh yeah, they're the best.
Oh
It's so
man, I could eat that all day,
Yeah.
man. And it's what lamb? It's lamb, and I don't know, but it's good.
Yeah, it's basically kind of like, really, it's almost the Greek equivalent of a hot dog. It's just a giant mesh put on a big chunk of meat, and you just let that bad boy spin, and I just take it fresh, just cut it off, fresh piece right off the spit there. It's amazing.
It's good. And Peter on that damn Peter like bread with some.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called? Tzatziki or what's it?
Tzatziki, yeah,
Tzatziki
sauce.
sauce. Man, it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
With some-
Oh,
oh man.
it's the best, man. It's the best.
Yeah, I can. Well, you know, you're talking to two food addicts here, but
Yeah.
you know, all my damn, you know, I've got a lot of memories in food. You know, I shared a lot of. That's what I'm saying. You know, all my memories in England and Scotland back in the '80s were I was either drunk or eating food. You know, that's what. You know. I tell you something's funny. When I went over there, I came back and for 20 years I told everybody, shit, man, those people in England and Scotland, all they want to do is sit and drink in the pub all the time. And after thinking about it for 20 years, I figured out that was just the only people I was meeting because that's all I was doing over there was sitting and drinking all the time. I never went to meet. Yeah, I never went to meet anybody else, you know. But it took me 20 years
funny.
it took me 20 years to figure that shit out, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible.
But
Oh, my gosh, that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, so you talked about your dad. Is he still around?
Yeah, he was actually just over earlier here. We bought our first home last August, so he was here. He bought us a grill for kind of like the housewarming gift. So we were out there building a grill this morning, and I seasoned it right before I hopped on with you. So I can't wait to throw some meat on that thing tomorrow. So we're breaking the house in tomorrow for sure.
What kind of grill? Is it a pellet smoker?
No. So it's that'll be coming too. So this was just a Weber Genesis grill,
Oh,
but
man.
it's pretty badass. I'm very much looking forward to kicking this thing in tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool. Hey,
Yeah.
my only other reference is the big fat Greek wedding. Is that do y'all
Yeah.
throw down, have those big family parties and food and celebrations?
Yeah, not quite to the extent that it's portrayed, but that's kind of like our Greek Easter, and then also we always have a family party on Christmas Eve. So it's always two. Those are our two big kind of Greek parties throughout the year with everything. So it's probably my two favorite days of the year. I love getting together with that family because it's you see them, only a couple times a year, but when everybody gets together, it really is that big family feel and just a lot of celebration and just good times and sharing memories and stuff. So I've look forward to those 2 days almost more than anything else.
So tell me, you called it Greek Orthodoxy. Is this like an Eastern Orthodox Christian church type situation?
So honestly, I don't even know how the differences are in there. I've always been so confused with why we have Easter, as we recognize it here, and then what the Orthodox Easter is. I've never actually looked into or even understood why those dates fluctuate. But the Orthodox Easter it's all over the place. It's fallen on Easter sometimes. It's been a week apart. It's been 4 weeks apart before. So I don't know why those days are always fluctuating, but it's a very interesting concept that now I'm going to look into and read so I can understand why it's like that.
I don't know for sure, but I think it all comes out of the damn interpretations of the Bible. I think, like,
of course,
back in Constant, what do they call it? The Lycene's Creed or whatever it's called, and it goes back to Constantinople. They all got together, and some people decided that these things meant this, and the other people said, no, y'all are idiots, it means this. Yeah. And so the church split, and it's it all comes down to interpretations and things. So but it's I think there's there's a lot of parallels, and then there's always something that's a little different. But
it's like all that stuff is weird.
I grew up Presbyterian, and I guarantee you, I would bet money that more than half of the people don't know that Presbyterians do not believe in free will.
Oh yeah, I never would have known that.
And and that come out of the Calvinists, and I had to read it. I grew up Presbyterian. I started reading, trying to figure out why I'm a Presbyterian. I wanted to know. It's just what I always knew. It's what my family grew up as. But Calvin broke off. It got down to how can a God be omnipotent and us have free will? If God knows what we're going to do, if He creates us and knows what we're going to do, then we don't really have free will, because they look more into the omnipotence of God than a question of free will. And then some people might say He knows what you're going to do, but you can still make a choice, and then some religions believe it's free will. You have to earn your way into heaven, and the Presbyterians believe that Jesus died on the cross, and I'm sure I'm butchering all this. I'm the world's worst Presbyterian, so whenever I show up Presbyterian church, people introduce themselves to me and thank me for coming and say I hope I visit again. So, but I hardly ever go, but it's I'm interested in the religions and the different belief systems and things, but it's funny. It's you grow up, you're indoctrinated in a belief system, and you don't really know why you believe things and what it means. So it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think religion in general, for whatever reason, gets such a bad rep about things because it's so easy to like categorize people. And I've always looked at it because I believe in God. I don't go to church. I'm very much just kind of like, I feel like I don't have to go somewhere. That's just kind of how I feel. Mm-hmm. So I just within the comfort of my home and stuff, and I just kind of live my life accordingly. But I think what's such an important thing sometimes where religion comes from, it's not so much that you have to discredit people for believing in something. It's the principles that are behind that. And there's a lot of really good principles, surrounding family and just living your life as a good person and watching your P's and Q's with certain things. There's a lot of really good principles in there. It's just it's just a bummer. I feel like there's always this attack on religion all the time. And yeah. I feel if people just kind of live their own life and do what makes you happy, and everything else should just kind of work itself out. There's too much separation, and that's a lot of the goal with the world we live in, unfortunately. But the goal is to keep so many people separated. But this is, if you're living a good life, go out, talk to your neighbors, say hi. We can all agree to disagree on a million different things, but at the end of the day, are you living your life with intent to harm others, or are you living your life with intent to be the best person you can? And that's core values. I feel like get lost in the mix somewhere. But yeah, I'm rambling on with stuff now, but I just I think it's very important for people to do that.
My undergraduate degree was in I guess concentration would be the right language, was in philosophy. So I have a certificate in bullshitting. So I love these conversations, but
Yeah.
in my personal beliefs is that no one religion. I believe there's a God or there's a being or there's more out there to this life than what we know. But I just don't think any one religion or one belief system has it down or right or anything else. I think that's just my personal beliefs. But I know that from checking into some of the Wiccan and pagan beliefs, they do a lot of sex and stuff around the solstices. I'm thinking if I'd have got indoctrinated in that belief system, I might be a little more active in those celebrations than other type of celebrations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah. It's a lot. There's a good conversation in there somewhere.
Yeah, shit, you've got me talking about Pornhub and Wiccans and sex on the solstices. So it's yeah. This is definitely going to be a hard podcast to categorize.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's so much fun stuff we could dive into, man. I'm an encyclopedia of just like fun little facts, and I can talk about anything. I love just good conversation in general.
Yeah. So tell me, what kind of music does your dad play? What did you grow up seeing him play?
Yeah, so a lot of like the older bands. This is why, thankfully, the guys that I jam with and stuff, like we all kind of grew up on that. But I grew up watching him do a lot of the Who, the Beatles, the Doors. Those are kind of like his core bands. So I had such an exposure to that music at a young age, and growing up with that, and then finding my own way. Because I'm a huge metalhead, so I love Metallica, and then I love, bands that take it even to the next level. There you can go to Trivium, Killswitch Engage, a lot of heavier bands and stuff, and I just love good music in general. So I can sit down and listen to Huey Lewis or the Beatles and then flip that over and then listen to death metal bands like Necrophagus or the Black Dahlia Murders. So it's like I love a very wide spectrum. But the thing that I'm so attached to is just very much musicianship, because I'm a huge fan of film score. I love listening to orchestral pieces. I've had the unbelievable pleasure of seeing John Williams perform a couple different times, and I love the idea of getting people together, each playing their own part, but when you bring it all together, what you can create musically, I'm very infatuated and just obsessed with the idea of creating music. So I love a very wide spectrum there, and my dad got me into all those classics, which was a gateway drug to so much more for me down the road.
So I'm like I said, a troglodyte in this arena. I don't know who John Williams is.
Oh man, you'll know. Okay, maybe not by name. So John Williams scored. So really, just the biggest films in history. All the Star Wars movies, the Indiana Jones series, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, E.T., Jaws, Close Encounters. You name it. He's just an absolute legend.
So he kept me out of the water for a while. Then that son of a
yeah. Yes, he did. Yeah.
You can hear that damn music when you're swimming in the water,
Yes, you can, man.
Shit. But
he's an absolute legend, man.
Man. So now, if my math is right, you said you've been with your common law Illinois wife for 11 years.
Yeah.
And you have a 17-year-old daughter. So I assume, which you shouldn't do in this world, that the first daughter is from another lady. Is that correct? Last thing I heard you say is you graduated high school early, and then I lost you after that.
Yeah. So I grew up quick. So I did early graduation for high school, only went for first semester. And then my birthday is December 9th. So that's pretty much right when the first semester had wrapped up. So I had signed a lease from my 18th birthday to get an apartment, and knowing that I was going to jump into the workforce so I could take care of, my family at that time. So day I turned 18, signed the lease. Daughter was born a month later, and the three of us were in our apartment. I was 18, she was 17, a newborn baby, and off to the world we went. So it was a very wild, unique experience, being that young doing that. But it was amazing. I mean, I wouldn't change any of it for the world. It was very cool to be a father at such a young age and have that kind of an experience. And then now later in life, in a totally different area of life, having my newest daughter and my son now. So to be able to do that at a different area of life, I feel like I've had such a luxury of these very unique experiences as being a father, which has been pretty cool.
I mean, that's got to be a scary as hell thing, being 18 and 17 and a baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah, our whole that semester of high school was, she's pregnant. We kind of most of our classes we had aligned, so that way we were there sitting with each other and stuff. But it's like, it was like half of high school, that whole senior year pregnancy, like kind of doing that through school and stepping up to the plate and having to go get a job and get an apartment and provide and do all that. But it was a pretty cool experience. It was nice. I loved it.
Well, it made you the man you are today, I can tell you that.
It was a big component in growing up fast and
problems with. But I meant to ask you, you've got a headset and that looked like a Rode microphone. Is that right?
It's not a Rode, it's a Samson, but it's a condenser mic, which Rode does a lot of those too, but just a different brand. Yeah.
Do you have a podcast?
So I did. I was doing podcast kind of thing with my buddy for a while. We would do like YouTube videos, recording off of Zoom chats and stuff. And then I've actually used this for a while for recording. So I do a lot of my own music production and stuff too. So this has been my go-to microphone for doing recording from that side. And it just works out for this too. Anytime I've hopped on, since we moved into the new house and kind of set up, I just use this for podcasting now, or going on, any kind of a live chat. It's very convenient.
All right, I want to hear more about this 18-year-old fatherhood deal. What type of work did you do just out of high school?
Yeah, so right out of high school, I had a good amount saved up, so I was actually unemployed going into it. I just had enough of a cushion to get by until I got things figured out. So it was the first couple of months just trying to figure out what I was going to do. But at the time, so my oldest daughter's mom, her dad worked construction, so he did carpentry, build homes and stuff. So I went and worked with him and built a house with him for kind of get things moving, and that was helpful because that paid good for being a young kid and everything. So I was kind of just the hardcore laborer, like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. So that was first couple of months, and then I started doing land surveying, and that was awesome. So that was a really cool experience to do land surveying and really understand the way that the world kind of works and how things are built. So I look at everything in a very different lens, because after doing surveying and realizing why surveyors are needed and why things are built the way they are, and it all just boils down to water flow and where you got to get water to move. Yeah. Everything, I can notice all this stuff, and I only did that for a couple of years, but being so entranced into that, everywhere I go, I can just see every little thing and why it was built that way, why there's a manhole here, why this is, it's a whole different world when you're doing surveying. But that was a pretty cool introduction to kind of like seeing the world through this whole new lens. So that was a really fun job for a while. Hey, I am so sorry.
Shitty's back.
Yeah, you know what? I guess we had an internet outage here, and that's why it started getting shoddy, and then it just finally booted me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's no problem, man. It gave me time to finish my bag of cassava chips, organic cassava chips, and go pee. So, hell, it worked out good, man.
There we go.
Finished my lunch.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on, and then my phone Wi-Fi went out, like right when it kicked. I was like, oh, God, so something's going on with the internet then. But I think, knock on wood here, I think we're good.
I was in the middle of this fucking tremendous story, you know. I mean, I was fixing to really rock your socks off, and you ruined it. You know, you just ruined it.
I'm ready for the maps. Matt, ready for the
maps? Well, I'll cut to the chase. It's a boring story, so it was probably meant to be. You know, that might have been God's way of telling us. That's a boring ass story. Nobody wants to hear.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was the county line, and instead of getting surveyors to go out, you know, each county getting their own surveyor, and then they get an opinion. You know, evidently they did that 100 years ago or something, and they put these concrete posts every so many miles along the county line. And over time, some of them had been bulldozed, you know, doing the construction or whatever. But our engineers went out and got permission on all this private land, walked the damn counties where they thought these damn concrete posts were, and found like 3/4 of them, 2/3 of them. But you know, in between the posts, the old surveys described it like, you know, to the big anthill, and then to the grove of trees. You know, I mean, it was shit that wasn't permanent at all, the way they were describing it back in the 1800s. Yep. And you know, it's amazing that you can define property rights by some of that old shit.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but it was. But they did a great job going taking pictures. That they got both counties agreed, and it saved us all a lot of money by going out and finding those old concrete posts.
Oh, for sure. It's crazy to think too. Like even that far back in the day, like there were ways that they like had those lines divided. Like it's so crazy.
And they, you know, there were two engineers for the Ellis County at the time, an older one and a younger one. Younger one, of course, did all the walking. And then they had a maps person who was like, you know, going digital, you know, 911 maps and all these other maps all have to match, and addressing and for the county and all that shit. But the map lady and the young engineer found all the places. But I forgot where I was going with it. The old engineer gave me some wisdom on it. I lost it in the middle of the map lady. Never mind. That's another way of God saying move on. Yeah. That's enough, counselor. Move on.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, what's your wife not? What is your baby mama's name and your children's name?
Yeah. So the missus is.
How do you want me to refer to her? How do you want me to refer? Give me your name. We'll use her name. That'd be the easiest way.
Yeah. So her name is Kristen, and then
Kristen. Okay.
Yeah, and then the kids. My oldest is Riley, and then my other daughter, who's going on 5 here, is Alicia, which is a Greek name that we chose on. So I love both of them. Riley and Alicia are both just very unique names, which I love. And then our newborn son now, who's almost 9 months old, his name is Kyber. And there's kind of a fun story to his name, too, because Kyber is a Star Wars reference. So it's the name of the crystals that power up the lightsabers. So we ended up, going with Kyber because we're like, well, that's a fun, unique name. And then if anybody really knows it, it's kind of a real deep cut, you know, for fans of Star Wars. And that's shaped so much of my life too, and it will indefinitely shape their lives. So we went with something Star Wars.
How do you spell it?
So that one, it's Kyber.
Kyber. Have you ever heard of those the Highland games? You know, where they throw the telephone pole end over end?
Oh yeah.
I think that's called a caber.
Kyber, okay.
Kaber. Let's see. You spell it Kyber.
Yeah, I'm gonna look here too.
I'm gonna look. Look, it's Kaber. Caber. beef roll, caber toss, Caber is what it is.
Oh,
Caber.
see, okay.
Caber toss. Yeah, Caber. So I wasn't close. It wasn't Caber. Okay, all right.
Yep.
All right. Did you
Yeah,
find
I got
it?
it.
The caber?
Oh, yeah, that stuff's insane. Those people that do that stuff's crazy.
Yeah, those dudes, man. Those dudes are beasts.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm like that. With kids, I'm sure you've watched that movie Up.
Yeah, I've seen Up.
I'm like that dog with the squirrel.
Yeah.
So, you say something, I'm going to get squirreled, and there's no telling where we're going to be. But it works fine. It just ends up being more. Yeah, no. It's going to be good. All right, man. I was asking you about baby mama number one. You said she lives about 20 miles from you. She remarried, or did she ever? So did you marry the first one?
No, we never got married. She has been married now. Oh boy, it's been a while now. They've been together for a while. I want to say they've been together for probably 14 years, maybe 13, 14 years. So they got married maybe 5 or 6 years ago or something finally. But yeah, they've been together for a while now.
So you and her didn't stay together too long after your oldest was born. After Riley was born.
No, that was pretty quick.
Let's see, it's Riley,
Yeah.
Caber, and then the Greek name. What was the other one?
Yeah, that's Alicia, or Ellie for short.
Alicia, Allie. Okay. Does the Greek Orthodoxy? I'm surprised that some of the older Greek Orthodoxy people didn't push y'all to marry. Was she Greek Orthodoxy? Her family growing up?
No.
No.
No Greek at all from my love life at all.
Yeah.
I'm the only one holding the Greek torch.
Yeah, you're the only one. Well,
Yeah.
they call that the cradle of civilization over there. He gave us Socrates and Athens and all that. They gave us a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get back to you. Why do you think you got to the point that you had in your life where you were 271 and wanting to make a change?
Yeah, I think the food addict in me, is life kind of, had gone on, and just lots of stress, just the daily grind. I think I was having a hard time dealing with just life, in general, and turning to food for every single thing. Not only was it stress eating and emotional eating, but then it just became just comfort eating, and then pleasure eating, and food just became life. There was just anything I could get, I would eat. And like I was kind of saying, what my routine had turned into, that wasn't even a thought process of I'm going to go do this. It was just so embedded into what the day-to-day grind turned into. I was stopping for fast food on the way to work, and then getting candy at lunch, and then eating fast food at lunch, and that just became, I guess the opposite of what this new healthy lifestyle change was. That was my lifestyle change, with just doing every possible wrong thing I could, with eating and drinking and stuff like that. So I don't know why the initial change clicked. I just remember when it happened, and it was March 8th of 2020. I was at the park with Kristen and Ellie, and she's running around the park, and again, I've always kind of kept myself active, so like I was kind of like that Chris Farley big, where it's like, yeah, I'm a big guy, but like I can move and I can be wild and stuff, and I've got the energy to keep up. But I was feeling myself getting lazy. I didn't want to go on the playground equipment. I was standing around, walking around on like the wood chips, and I wouldn't get up there. And she's like, "Daddy, come on!" And I'm just like, "Oh, just go do your thing," and just excuse after excuse to not go up there with my kid. And this is exactly how it happened. We were leaving the park, and I told Chris, I said, "Hey, I'm like, this is what I kind of want to do. I'm like, and I know I've said this stuff multiple times, but for some reason, right now, this is different for me. But I want to go to a Chinese buffet for dinner. I'm going to max that Chinese buffet out, and that is the last time that I'm doing that. Like, when I wake up tomorrow, it's going to be an entirely different thing. And that's exactly what had happened to a T. We went to a Chinese buffet that night after the park. I ate until I was sick. I woke up that next Monday morning on March 9th. I weighed myself for the first time in a long time. Didn't realize how much weight I had gained since I had done that initial weight loss competition. And I was up to 271. And I was like, all right, well, that's it.
Oh, you there? I can see you. I never had anybody lose it this much. I mean, I've had some lose it some, but not quite this much.
Yeah, I'm losing everything over here, apparently.
Are you? Let me ask you this: are you on cellular, or are you still on your Wi-Fi?
I was on the Wi-Fi, and then I had switched over to cellular coming out here. So I don't know what just booted me there, but everything looks fine from my side. So hopefully we're good.
So you're using the app now and not Chrome on your cell phone.
Yeah, I'm in the app now.
That's shit. I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I apologize.
No, it's cool. I mean, we can keep going, or we could try a different time of day to see if that would help. But finish. But I mean, or we can call it. I mean, we can do. This is fun. It's fun. I do like I tell
I
everybody.
love it. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I do this for fun, man. If you go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow and have any heartache or regret or concern or anything about anything we talk about, just tell me and I'll cut it out. This is totally for fun, something I do for fun, and I don't want to embarrass anybody or cause anybody any heartache. But I do want to get all these amazing stories out there, and I can't tell you how much fun I have picking everybody's brain and learning about people. That's what I like doing. So that's why I do it. I have fun just doing it.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Hopefully we're good to go moving forward here.
I think where we left off, you were talking about that day back in March of 2020 when you went and pigged out at the Chinese buffet and said this is your bon voyage party and you're going to change your life. I think you were into that story when you lost it.
Yeah, that's I mean pretty much exactly to a T what had happened. We went to the buffet and maxed it out. I ate as much food as I could possibly fit into my body, which was no different than any other day, but I knew that was that bon voyage meal. I was like, once this is done. And yeah, I woke up, weighed myself for the first time in a while at that 271, and that was it. From March 9th moving forward for that 7-month stretch, I mean, I was as clean as I could be. I mean, there was not anything that went into my body for that 7 months that was anything remotely close to what I was doing to myself just prior to that. So it was a 100% flip. It was drinking daily. If you go from drinking a case of beer and smoking a pack of cigarettes a day nonstop, and then one day you said nope and you cold turkeyed it. It was that extreme, and it sucked for the first couple of weeks because of those sugar withdrawals. It messed me up pretty bad for those first couple of weeks, but after that I felt great. I mean, my body responded so beautifully to everything, and then from there it was smooth sailing, so to speak. But it was a very different thing. But getting those first couple of weeks was the most important for me, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, every time I've done it, gone, cut out the carbs, sugars, and all that. It's for me. About day 3 or 4, I get a headache, and I always think I'm getting a migraine, but it's like a day's headache, and I just dragging, and I've heard it called the carb flu, and then after that, my mind starts clearing, and I think I think clearer when I'm doing no carbs, no sugar. I mean, I think, and I feel great. It's weird to explain. I mean, and you're not having those starving periods and those low periods. I mean, I can eat good or not eat at all during those periods, and it all feels good. But I mean, and I love it. It's easy when you get in that zone. It's easy, but then, you know, for me, then when I fall off, I just binge. But I don't know. I don't know how to stay in that zone. I mean, do you get to where you think you're thinking better, feeling better?
Yeah, and honestly, so much of it just comes down to having, those rules in place for myself. That's the biggest thing, because of the mental hurdle that comes with it. Is, at least for my past, it's like, okay, I'll have a little bit of something today, and then you do. But then that next day it's easier, and then the next day it's easier, and before you know it, you're a month in, and you're just like, oh shit, what happened? Like, I don't even realize what happened, but now I'm just a month in, and I've just slipped back to this casualness. You don't really even notice it happening, because day by day, but days add up really fast. And building those rules for myself was by far the most important piece to it, because if I knew that I was going to have a cheat day, it was that much more motivation and discipline for myself to stay strong and stay the course for the weeks leading up to it, because I knew once that cheat day came around, I'll get it out of my system then, and then when I get back into regimen the next day, I've already created that in my head. So not only have I told myself, all right, in 2 weeks, we'll say, that's when you can have that meal, but it also tells me in 2 weeks you can have that meal, and then 2 weeks and 1 day you're right back on course. So when that day comes around, it wasn't derailing me. I just allowed myself to have what I wanted to have, and I knew that next day I was back in, because I didn't have to prepare for it. I already set myself up and created the discipline for what that cheat day or cheat meal was going to be, and I got right back on course for the next day. So it's a little bit complex, but it's all about building those rules, because to me it's the mental hurdle more than anything.
Did you write the rules down? Did you post them somewhere, or were they just mental rules, or how did you structure the rules?
Yeah, so it's all just been mental up here. I didn't end up writing anything down for it. I have written down things for like workout regimens and stuff like that. So, when it came down to 2 days on, no more than 1 day off kind of a thing, and then it became 6 days a week and then 7. I would start writing down some workout regimens and keeping up with certain things, because that even turned into 2 workouts a day sometimes, depending on the day. So that I kind of wrote down and kept to a T. But the rules that I built for myself as far as what the lifestyle change with food was and all that, I just kept all up in my head for that, because to me, I just said, if this is a lifestyle change, it's no longer trying to stay calculated with something. This is just a new way of living. So in order to do that, if I don't have it up here properly, at least for me personally, I could write it down and write it down and write it down and write it down, which I'm a huge advocate for. But when it came down to getting over those food addictions for me, it was just a full-blown rewiring, which is a big reason why I went those first 7 months without touching anything. I said, I'm not going to have a cheat meal or a cheat day until I hit my target weight. And that was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I think those first 7 months really drilled it home, because I was living a different life by that point. There was no more cravings. There was no more thinking about anything. I had everything on such a lockdown that there was nothing that was going to get in the middle of that for me. So those first 7 months were probably the most important months of my life, just because that really rewired my thinking with food.
Now, you've touched on your diet or your change of lifestyle. I've heard you talk about no sugar, no carbs. I've heard you talk about intermittent fasting, but you haven't really explained the details of the food or what your daily diet or meals are like. It sounds like to me you're in a habit of convenience. You could go get the food. You could go get shitty food at any corner, but now you're not eating that shitty food. You can go get shitty food any corner, 99 cents. Now you're not eating that shitty food. What did what are you doing differently to feed yourself?
Yeah, okay, so that was a little bit difficult to transition into, but what helped me a lot was just having the rules. The rules helped me so much because I didn't think so much about each individual thing I was eating. As long as it fit into the category of low or no carb, no sugar, and if it had, high protein, that was it. I created that bubble, and whatever fit within that was okay. Whatever was outside of that was not okay. And the reason I kept it simple like that is because in the past, every single thing I would eat, I always would overthink it, and it was daily. What am I eating for dinner? What am I going to have for lunch? What kind of a snack am I allowed to have? If I do this, is this too much? Oh, well, I already had a piece of bread today, so screw it. Now I'll just do whatever the hell I want for the rest of the day. So there was way too much mental confusion for me to attack something, this big and this life-changing. So I just said, all right, I'm keeping this as simple as could be. And I've preached this to anybody that's reached out to me asking for any advice for what I did. I said, simplify it. Just simplify it. Low carb, no sugar, high protein. Whatever fits within those guidelines, have at it. And don't think twice about it. You don't have to have guilt or anything. So I would do simple things like a cheese stick, which isn't the healthiest thing in the world, but I would take a cheese stick and roll it up with a piece of ham and have like 2 of those with a protein shake or something for lunch. Some days I would just do nothing for lunch, just fast it out through dinner time. But meals that I transitioned into that worked the best for me was sticking to meats and eggs. And omelets is still one of my favorite things to do. And I'll take some sausage or some bacon. Even once in a while, if I want to spoil myself, I'll even take some hot dogs, and with hot dogs are not the greatest thing ever, but it's no carb, it's no sugar. It's got a little bit of protein. It fits within my rule book, and that's fine. So sometimes I'll cut up some hot dogs, but I'll fry up some meat. I'll throw in 4, 5, 6 eggs, depending. Cook that all together, melt a little bit of cheese on top, or sometimes, no cheese. And that would be my dinner. And that'd be the same for chicken. Cook up a chicken breast, or sometimes I would just cut up 5 or 6 chicken breasts into cubes, put it in a Tupperware. When it came time for dinner, I'd take 2 handfuls of that, fry it up in a pan, add a little bit of bacon or some seasoning, a little bit of Sweet Baby Ray's does a no sugar barbecue sauce now, so squirt a little bit of that in there or something, and that's it. That's my meal. So it's a lot of that stuff. A lot of fish. Well, not as much. Fish is kind of like a once in a while thing I'll do, but a lot of chicken, a lot of omelets, things like that, and that's been very much like a go-to for me. Avocado's big in there too. I keep it that simple. I try to stick to a lot of, I don't want to say a carnivore diet, but I guess it's almost in lines with what carnivore diet would be. It's just a lot of meats, a lot of eggs, and that's really the basis of everything that I eat.
It doesn't sound like you worry too much about fat.
No, I don't even look at fat.
Okay.
Just one more component to take out.
Yeah. When I lost all that weight doing the low carb, doing like you did, I quit looking at fat too. I didn't fat wasn't even a concern of mine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like that you followed the organic non-GMO the current the DDPY nutrition program. It sounds like you were more kind of had your own custom type diet to lose the weight.
Yeah, I just kind of made it my own, so to speak. Just kind of did my own thing, and I have stuck to a lot of organic kind of things too. I've never gone out of my way to make every single thing I'm getting organic, just because it for me at least, it's too much mental pressure for me to think about it, because it might set something off where if one day I eat something that's not organic, that might be enough of a trigger for me to think well, screw it, the whole day's gone, I'll just eat whatever I want. So anything that I could have created that mental block for, I eliminated. So I do buy organic. I'll get organic chicken, I'll get organic eggs and things like that, but I'm not going so far out of my way to where I would let that interrupt just sticking to the core rules of low carb, no sugar, high protein. That is still at the core what I do. And if I can get organic, great, but it's not gonna, make or break me, because it's too much of a mental pressure for me.
Now, at 35, do you go to the doctor? Have you been to the doctor since you got on the scale at 169?
So I am terrible with doctors. I have not been to a doctor to get looked at since this is embarrassing. Probably since getting my physical for school.
Yeah.
I don't like going to the doctor. I really probably should, now that I'm living in an entirely different lifestyle and a very different walking weight and stuff. I probably should get looked at just to see if there's anything I should be paying attention to. The Kristen is all over me about it all the time, so the levee's gonna break soon, where I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and do it. But I have not been to a doctor in years.
Well, I read somewhere that you can refuse to be weighed at the doctor, and I'd never refused to be weighed. I'd always been weighed, but my son had recently gone, and he's a chef, and he's gotten bigger since he's chefing, and he was really nervous about it, and I told him, I said, well, hell, you don't have to let the doctor weigh you. You can tell him no. That's just another tool that they like to have in their tool chest, of records that they monitor you for future problems, and you can refuse it just like you can refuse a blood test if you want to. And
yeah.
He went ahead and did. He weighed 300, and that was the first time. He was just a hair over 300, and that's the first time he's ever weighed 300 in his life. And shit, the little shits went and run the last 2 days because of it.
Oh, man.
But his job, he has to taste all that good food. He works in a French restaurant, and all they do is cook with butter. Yeah. He's the chef in a French restaurant. He's making new dishes and trying new stuff, desserts. I don't know how he's gonna be. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
In that environment.
Yeah, it's man. That'd be like heaven.
Yeah.
But
man, Mary and I have been to his restaurant 3 times. And every time we go, we get this dessert. Last time I had a duck. It was a duck confit leg. They got to explain, the damn dish takes about 3 minutes to explain everything that's in it and cooked and stuff. But, I'm not going to do it justice. It was a duck leg, to me. But but you just pull the bone and it come off. Man, it was good. But every time I've been, there's bread pudding. And it's just unbelievable. And and every time I eat it, it puts me on one of my binges, that meal. But last time I was able just to eat his restaurant and then get back to eating good the next day. That's the first time I'd ever been able to do that. So
it's good, yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, if you build that rule for it, like if you're going, just like tell yourself, all right, I'm going, I'll enjoy the meal, I'll enjoy the bread pudding, but the next day, boom, it's like that might help just to kick it in, so that way you have that expectation already.
They talk about, and I'm meant to ask you about that book, James Clear. It talks about atomic habits. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
But you it sounds like it's what you did. You break in little habits. You don't eat the elephant in one bite. You start your habits real small. Like, you could even just go buy a mat and just look at it a day. Then the next day unravel the mat. But what you're doing is you're scheduling that time of the day is that you're going to do something. Toward exercise, then the next day you lay on the mat, and then the next day you might stretch on the mat, then the next day you start your yoga, and you only do a minute or two, but you start these habits of a minute or two that break into what with it. You string these atomic. The name of the book's Atomic Habits, but you string these atomic habits into a disciplined life is basically what you're shooting for. And I mean, you've taken that philosophy all on your own and done it on your own, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, thankfully it's been with support, which has been great because the community's been amazing. I think the obsession of those first, I can't preach enough, those first 7 months, how much that helped, because coming out of those 7 months, I mean, I've allowed myself to cheat, like I'll have a cheat meal, I'll have a cheat day sometimes, and just, have a handful of things I just want to eat. But I think, building in that discipline and that mental strength around it is knowing that I'm doing that. I go into that with no regrets. I don't punish myself. There's no allowance to have a negative mindset towards it. It's just, okay, this is the day I've chosen. These are the things I've chosen to eat. It's just a matter of fact. It is what it is. And then the next day I know I'm getting right back on the horse for everything. And it's the same for workouts too. I kind of want to mention this because a lot of the folks that I've kind of talked to, and just through like Messenger and stuff that'll kind of reach out, it comes up often where it's just like, oh, I don't feel like exercising, I don't feel like doing it, or oh, I worked out but I didn't have a good workout and stuff. And it's the same kind of a mindset with that it is, at least for me, from the food side of things. It's like, okay, maybe you didn't have the best workout, but the bottom line is you did it, and like, that's what matters, is that consistency, the discipline. Even if you don't feel like it, as long as you do it, it's fine. I mean, there'd been days when we had moved into the house, because we bought our house. Our son was born 2 weeks after we bought a house. So between how stressful it was to make such a big move and then have, a baby in the house, but you still have a 4-year-old running around and trying to juggle all of that with settling into the house and making sure that you're taking care of both the kids now you're losing all this sleep. And I was like, holy shit, man, like, how am I going to have time to work out? And I made the time, and it was for the first time in my health journey that I wasn't on my normal schedule. I'm used to working out like on my lunch break for work, and then also if I was doubling up, I'd do it right after work. Well, that was out the window because I was home on paternity leave. I'm not getting any sleep in the middle of the night. I couldn't work out in the mornings like I was doing for the time being, so I had to just do it when I could. And there were some days, I shit you not, there were some days, you go all day because life is happening, and it would be 11:30 at night and I hadn't worked out yet, and I'd sit there and be like, God, like, all I want to do is go sleep right now, but if I don't work out and keep this consistency, I don't want it to mess with me mentally. And I would sit down on the mat and I would work out from 11:30 till midnight, because once 12 o'clock hit, it's the next day. If I missed that 12 o'clock window, I knew I fucked up. So I'd go from 11:30 to 12 sometimes if I had to, and just muster it out. And you know what? Those workouts sucked. They were terrible, but I knew I was on that mat for 30 minutes, and to me, that was good enough to know that consistency was there. So for anybody that's listening to this, don't worry about the style or, the intensity of the workout. If you have to chill for a day, chill for a day. As long as you got on that mat, and even if you just stretched for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you didn't really hit it hard, at least you did it. Because if you don't do it, that's what's going to mess with you. There's no bad workout. I guess we'll put it that way. There's no such thing as a bad workout. There's great workouts. Maybe there's workouts that you didn't feel like you did as much, but there's no such thing as a bad workout. If you put the time in for that day, I don't give a shit if you burn 5 calories. If you put the time in for that day, you did it. So there's no reason to second guess or doubt yourself, because you made the right choice. Don't worry about how good or bad your workout feels. As long as you did it, you did it. And that's all that should matter.
I think it sounds like to me, that two of your greatest attributes, or greatest fitness rules, I think, are keep it simple, simplicity, and consistency. And it sounds like to me you've taken those two rules and then kind of worked and then as long as you've stuck within that frame, even little slip ups, it didn't matter because you just kept it simple and you got back after it. It's what it sounds like to me. I may be putting words in your mouth, but that's what it sounds like to me, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I never thought about the consistency side of it because I've, rewiring and everything. This is just kind of what life is. But the simplistic thing, that is 100% the core to it for me, because that's what I've preached to everybody. I'm like, keep it simple. Stop overthinking, because if you think about every single thing you're putting into your body, you're leaving too much room for error. And you don't become a food addict or binging on food by, just doing this for a day or two. These are deep things that are rooted into just like the laws of being a human being, surviving day to day. Like, it's not just going to go away. So you have to change the way you think about that. So if you flip it too hard and now you're not eating the bad stuff anymore, but you're second guessing and questioning the good things, eventually those lines get too blurred. And now the food that you're eating that probably is good for you, maybe it's not the greatest thing to put into your body, but there's no differential between that. Having something that might not be organic, let's say, mentally might be no different than eating a piece of chocolate cake. I mean, it's two very different things when you look at it, but mentally you might be like, oh shit, well, I didn't eat organic today. And then everything else for the day, it's your excuse to just do what you want because you didn't do something right. And you don't have to think like that. Just keep it simple. And for me, it was the low carb, no sugar, high protein. If it fit those boundaries, it's A-okay by me. I don't want to put any pressure on myself. I don't want to punish myself. Fit within those boundaries, and we're good to go. And that helped me so much to not overthink every single time I was eating something, because we've been down that road. I mean, it's the simplest things that can trigger something. It's like taking someone who's a recovering alcoholic. You give them one drop of alcohol on their tongue, well, they might say, well, screw it, I'm just going to go drink a case now. Well, that's sometimes, if you don't keep it simple enough for yourself, that one little tiny thing might be enough to just go down the wrong path.
I know it is for me.
Yeah.
So tell me how your mental state changed and your workouts and food changed when you switched from a weight loss to a more of a bodybuilding mentality, quality of lifestyle mentality.
Yeah, so it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. It was scary because it was the first time I was changing anything food-wise since I had started, and it terrified me because I knew I had to introduce carbs. And it's not that I was having 0 carbs every day. It's just I was getting the most minuscule amount of carbs. You'd get carbs from an avocado, but a lot of that's getting balanced out too with dietary fibers and things, so your net carbs are still very low with an avocado. So I knew I had introduced carbs. It was terrifying, but I found ways to do it to where I was not going to like gluten carbs. I had to stay away from, I guess, the gluten carbs. No pastas, no breads and things like that. So what I've ended up doing that's been really helpful is bananas. So bananas, get your carbs out of it, but it's kind of a superfood. But it helped me to have a banana in the morning, a banana with lunch. So I'd usually have 2 bananas a day, and that helped to get some carbs in. I would get some carbs sometimes with some other things, like every once in a while some white rice. They have these very cool low carb wraps that you just get a couple carbs out of a wrap. So I was finding little ways to kind of dink and dive with it, but never going full blown into it. I still haven't, on my cheat days, yes. If I plan a cheat day, I'm just kind of whatever at that point. But the normal regimen with everything, I still haven't introduced things. But I know that there's options for like gluten-free pasta, which is something I think I'm going to bring in. But, again, I'm going to have to figure out the right way to kind of categorize that, to build that into my rules, so I'm not just sitting down eating pasta. It needs to be, no, it's just this 1 cup, because that's how much you're getting for your carbs, and, eliminating the gluten. So haven't dabbed into that too much. The bananas have been a huge thing because there's a good amount of carbs you get out of a banana. A baked potato, I'll have a potato once in a while and get the carbs out of that, but I don't decorate it at all. It's a potato, and it's boring, but it's just a way to get that extra piece to it without having to turn to things that I know could spiral me out of control. So it's a fine line, but I think I found a good balance there, thus far with everything. But it was scary as hell once I started.
What's your go-to meal when you go out to a restaurant somewhere, like a sit-down nice restaurant?
That's honestly, I almost a blessing in disguise COVID has been, so to speak, just because that eliminated a lot of the option and temptation for that for a while. Kristen was very much wanting to, be home, play it safe with everything, and I'm more loosey-goosey about stuff, but I was very respectful of what she wanted to kind of do for the family, so that helped to keep things at home, where I kind of pushed myself to having control of every meal I was eating and not being in those positions. The couple of times that, we have gone out, or if I've gone out with people for work and stuff, I just stick to those same kind of core rules. It's barbecue sometimes. We'll get like barbecue ordered in or something like that. I'll just eat the meats. I won't do anything else. I'll have some brisket or some pulled pork and, stuff like that. Depending on, I can't even think of a restaurant like the last time I'd gone out somewhere where that
Chili's?
Became a thing.
What? Yeah.
I haven't been to Chili's. Oh, man. If I was put in that position, which I haven't had myself in that position, but I guess if I was in that position, I would probably just stick to like a salad, like a Caesar salad with chicken, and I wouldn't feel guilty about having Caesar dressing. Like I'd be like, whatever. I know there's some bullshit in the dressing, but like that's fine. I know the basis of the meal. I'm getting what I need, and if there's a little bit of extra calories from the dressing, I would probably just mentally throw that out the window. I know I'm getting my chicken, I'm eating some greens, and I'd be okay with that. Or just getting a chicken breast, and if there's skin on it, just peeling the skin off and eating the breast as is, something like that. But I haven't had myself in that position, to be honest.
What about how has your life... Well, wait a minute. Let me back up before I jump to that question. You didn't talk about how your exercises, your thought process on the exercises changed when your mentality changed from a weight loss to more of a maintenance or a sculpting mentality.
Yeah, so that transition was pretty easy for me because coming off of being down in Atlanta and, getting to hang out and spend a lot of time, with Justin and Candy and Caitlin. I mean, the four of us created this unbelievable bond that it's so hard to describe. And I know the champions from last year too, being down there and meeting all of them and talking with them when we had met, talking with them and kind of seeing what that bond created for them. There's just something special to have a group of like-minded people who have not just accomplished something for themselves, but it's really better for everybody around you, because when you're creating the better version for yourself, you're really giving the best version of yourself to everybody that's around you. So when we all kind of had met and it became this very infectious thing with each other, and you're riding High Street too, to be in the Performance Center for the first time and kind of have that and see Dallas and get a workout in with Dallas. I mean, all that stuff was wonderful, but meeting all of them created this brand new kind of energy within me. And when I got back home, and then the jack straps, were just kind of starting to make their way out there a little bit more and introducing that into the workout. I was just getting onto the app for the first time, so I was really excited to go start doing just brand new workouts. Everything was kind of a perfect spiral for me coming back from Atlanta. Just new workouts, the jack straps. I'm on the app now. There's this infectious energy from kind of being down there and meeting all these amazing people. And I just took that and ran with it. And a huge goal for me, which I'm still focusing on. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but when the time is right and I feel like I've gotten myself to where I want to be, I'm going to go spend the money and just get a decked out Captain America costume, because I so badly just want to be able to be in that costume, I want to cosplay Captain America and just go to conventions and Halloween and stuff. So that's been a huge focus of mine. I want to get my body in that type of a physique and that physical form to where I feel confident. I mean, I feel great as it is, but I want to put that suit on and just feel like Captain America. That's been such a thing for me. ever since I started focusing on building some muscle and sculpting and things like that. So that keeps me going hardcore right now. But that transition just felt like the next natural step for me. I said, I've lost the weight. I don't want to be lazy because fitness is now, it's a lifestyle. It's part of my life. So what's the next natural thing to do? Well, I want to take what I lost with this weight. I want to try to sculpt my body. Loose skin is a thing for everybody that goes through any kind of an extreme weight loss. And, I've got plenty of loose skin on my body, of course. I mean, we've all different ways of kind of, conjuring that up, but I wanted to fill that in with muscle. It's like, okay, great, I lost the weight, but how do I repair this body so that way I can turn this body into a machine moving forward? I don't want to just have lost the weight. That's not my story. That's part of my story. The next part of my story is building that muscle and filling in that loose skin and having abs, at least some definition there for the first time in my life. And how far can I take that now? And how much definition can I create in this body? And it became the new obsession. It's just, these are things that I never would have thought about, being an overweight kid growing up my entire life and never having a dream to do that. You see it on the movies, you see it with people in gyms and stuff. You're like, oh man, wouldn't that be nice? But it's just a second thought. And now I'm like, you know what? This could happen. And I'm going to put the fucking work in, and I'm going to make sure I can accomplish something like this. So that way I feel good for me. I can be a role model for my kids. And I can show any other person out there, regardless of where you're at in your journey, it is possible to not only lose the weight, but you can lose the weight and rebuild your body in the image that you want. And I really want to be able to convey that to other people who are not only struggling with weight loss, but what's next? What happens after the weight loss? How do you maintain the weight loss? How do you push yourself to that next level? What do you do to get your body into those different things? How do you build the muscle? And that's such a big part of what my journey has turned into. The weight loss is done at this point. Now I want to maintain, I want to build my body up, and I want to be able to look and feel the way that as a kid, being overweight, seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger and seeing Jean-Claude Van Damme, these guys that I was like, holy shit, man, how do they do it? I don't want to be Arnold big, but I want to be able to like walk around with my shirt off and say, hey, you know what? This shows how much work I put in, and if that gives anybody else hope, I want to do it, So it's a very different vulnerability, but it comes with an obsessive mindset of knowing that I'm going to do this.
Well, your energy is contagious and definitely inspirational. So I encourage you to continue down the road you're going down and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate
now,
that.
how many? So there were 4 winners the year that you won the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, right?
Yeah.
Caitlin Kay, you, Candy Herndon, and Justin Dobbins.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And then Candy was the overall winner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Make sure I got that right. You're the I've done Justin and Candy and Caitlin. You're the 4th. You're the last one of that year's championship crop so now I've got the superfecta of 2020, so I feel pretty good about it.
yeah, hell yeah. Absolutely, man.
All right. So how has your life changed? And now, I know from what you're talking about physically and food, I'm talking about relationship with your wife, work, just general life questions. How is the new Captain America's life?
Yeah, it's really night and day, and what it boils down to, again, keeping it simple, because it just works for me so well for the simplicity. But what I touched on just a little bit ago, it's so much that what I've done for me, and finally taking time for me, not putting everybody else first, because that's always been an issue I've had with my whole life. I'm a hardcore empath, and I will put anybody else and anything else before me. To actually step back and still know that I can do that, but also take time for myself to create this better version of me, both physically and mentally, to carry that into those other things, to continue to be there for others on their health journey, but with my family and being active and not feeling, like the answer is no because I'm feeling lazy. Everything is just yes. Oh yeah, Daddy, you want to come up on the playground? Yes, let's go. You want to go climb this? Yes, let's go. There's no second guess about any of that stuff anymore. So to have this better version of myself that I've created, and I will continue to create because it is a lifelong process. It's never going to stop. To continue doing that makes me feel so much better and confident with what I can give and provide for others. And that's been the biggest change in the quality of life, because it's no longer expunging every ounce of energy that I have to keep whatever around me together, but deep down inside, I'm buried and I'm dying and I can't, take care of anything for me. It's being able to create this stronghold of what I am, so that way I can be there for others, and no matter what comes my way, I'm ready to deal with it and not let it flatten me out. So, I mean, in simple terms, a stronger version of me creates a stronger version of what I can give. And that's really who I am at my core. I mean, I want to be able to inspire others, and I don't care if it's health, it could be anything. If it's music, if it's health, if it's seeing how I interact with my kids, if people see how I am with them out in public. I mean, it's really any kind of thing that someone can pick up from and see, just because what I'm doing for me, I'm game. I just want to make the world a better place and give whatever I can possibly give, and I think that's such a strong thing of what Dallas does, because Dallas talks and talks and talks and preaches and preaches and preaches, but he lives everything that he talks and preaches. It's not just somebody out here being a face, but doesn't have his shit together. He's out there talking and preaching, and you can tell that he leads by example. And there's something more to be said about that, because it's a very powerful thing to when you can hear it, but you can also see it. And I want to be able to do that same exact thing. I want to be able to preach what works for me, preach what helps for me, preach what I'm doing in my life, but not just do that stuff and then hide behind the curtain. Like, to put myself out there in that vulnerable position, I'm very comfortable with that now. I'm very confident about that now. And if that helps other people in any which way in their life, health, musically, being a husband, being a parent, I mean, whatever you name it, if I can give that to somebody else, and that's catches someone in the right spot in their day, or if they're already on a journey and they're having a down moment, but maybe you just connected with them just enough to where it pulls them out of that funk and they continue down that path, whatever it might be. I think it's important to give as much back as possible, and I genuinely care about so much being an empath with everything, that if I can impact other people's lives in any capacity, I just wanna. And I don't even need to hear about it. I don't care. If you don't want to say anything to me or reach out, I do not care. If you saw my post and it did something to help your day, great. You don't even have to tell me. Just go about your day and do your thing. I just want to be able to leave that impact in a positive manner for other people in one way or another. That's a very long-winded, simple answer, but the simple thing is a stronger me, hopefully is a stronger everybody else.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I mean, because there's a lot of truth in Dallas practices what he preaches. Shit, you hug the guy, he's like hugging a big tree oak, so much is just solid, boy. And he's 66, 65. How old is he? Shit, he's so much.
66, yeah.
66, and it's crazy. But what's more important to him is his heart's bigger than everything else, and he gives back so much to so many people and reaches out and touches so many people. And I'm sure you've seen it now, being around him through your trips to the Atlanta and different things. But that guy is going 24/7. I mean, he is working out 24. So he's doing something, going, and then when he's home, he's doing sauna and laying on that damn mat that's supposed to make your blood circulate better, or he's stretching or doing DDPY yoga. And it's just amazing, man. The guy just never stops. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, he's a machine, man. Like he just goes, and I feel very blessed and honored to even be a part, of what this community is, and have had to, the opportunity to be with Dallas and so many others and do this. my journey, regardless of whatever this was going to be, I knew where I was going and I knew what I was doing, and I was going to do all of this regardless. So to have, the honor of being recognized in 2020 and being able to go down there and meet so many amazing people and have, long-lasting relationships with people now from those experiences and meeting more people through the community and all that, it's such an added bonus, to have all of that on top of, just turning my life around for the better in the end, which is something, regardless of all of this, I would have done either which way. I never had any expectation of anything with that Positively Unstoppable challenge, because I didn't get set up into that until I had already lost over 70 pounds. I never would have joined it had, Pat not reached out to me. Pat and Sean, from DDPY had reached out and they said, hey man, saw your post. This is amazing. You should really think about getting involved with this. And thank God I took the pictures to start, because, that's what helped me to get into that position I was in. But, I just feel very fortunate to be a part of all of this and have those relationships with so many people now.
Tell the people those that don't know what the Positively Unstoppable Challenge is, what's your advice for those two that compete in it, and what all you got out of winning the competition.
Yeah. So the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, in its own right, is one of the most generous things I think that is out there, and let alone to be done by, a company focused on health and well-being and turning your life around. Companies, so many companies out there, they want your money. Give me your money, come do our thing. We don't give a shit if you stick to it or not. We just want the sale. Where I feel DDPY is very much invested. The sale doesn't even matter. It's about inspiring people. It's about changing people's lives. And if you happen to get the app and you happen to have the disc, well, great. It's going to a great cause, because these people are very invested. That's what the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, to me, embodies so much, is that personal relationship of you owning your health, owning your mindset, and having these connections with people within a company and a community that are giving back, and they're here to help you, they're here to support you, they're here to guide you on that journey. There's so many people within the DDPY community and who work for DDPY who are constantly in there helping. So get involved with it. I think for this year, we're kind of at the tail end, what you can get for your 6 months. So doesn't mean you can't start owning your health. Start owning your health, get involved. Positively Unstoppable Challenge will kick right back in next January, and it gives you a 6-month window from January to October. So you pick your 6 months and document, take pictures, take video. It's all about creating that story and using that to inspire other people. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a very generous thing. And honestly, the biggest thing that I got out of everything, with being a champion in 2020, was the relationships that I was able to build. It's ridiculously generous that they even give away cash and give away all these options for people to win more money. I could give two shits about the money. I mean, is it nice? Sure. But what was most important to me was building relationships with so many amazing people, having that time, to sit there and talk with Dallas and have that time to actually build a relationship and a friendship with somebody that, you looked up to so much as a kid, and now has helped change your life for the better through health at a different walk of life. But, those relationships with Justin and Candy and Caitlin, and meeting them, meeting Dallas, meeting Steve, all these amazing people within this community was the greatest gift of all, because my health was going to be my focus and I was going to own it regardless. But being able to now share this and have stories and so many like-minded people that I can call friends and family now, it's been the greatest gift of all. So that, without a doubt, was the best thing to come out of that challenge, was just meeting so many people and having relationships with people that otherwise I probably wouldn't have had on this level. So it really is an amazing thing.
You didn't touch on the advice you would have to those people competing right now in the competition too much. You talked about really videoing and really showing the journey to inspire others, but you didn't break it down to much advice, because I don't know. I think this is the biggest year so far, so there's a big group that's doing it. At least that's what I heard early on. I don't know if it's still that way, but What advice do you have for those that going through it right now?
Yeah, if you're in the challenge right now, just document everything. And it's great for the challenge, but your focus shouldn't be about winning this challenge. The challenge is a very generous thing that, whoever, and I'm sure it's hell for them to pick who their finalists and champions are going to be for everything. Don't do it trying to win this challenge. Do it for yourself. Everybody in this community and everybody at DDPY is going to take notice of what you're doing. And even if you don't, become a champion for the challenge, that's not the most important thing. The important thing is being the champion of your health. And document. Take your pictures, take your video, do everything. And if it's too much of a vulnerable spot for you to post it immediately, that's okay. Because when you flash forward months down the road, a year down the road, whatever it might be, and you go back and look at that stuff, one day, even if you're not feeling it right now, one day you're going to have that confidence and that vulnerability to post that out there. And when you do, and when you put that out there, you're going to be so happy that you documented it, because it's going to reaffirm for you how much you did for yourself, how much work you put in. And when you get to share that with other people who are now just starting off, that shit will change somebody else's life. And it is so important to document that and give that back, because you don't realize it maybe now, but when the time comes, that's going to inspire the next, group of people, whether going through the challenge or just starting their health journey, and it will snowball. And I think that's why this challenge has continued to grow. It's a snowball effect. It happened the one year was kind of low key. It happened the year that I had done it, which was a little bit more out there. Last year was huge, and this year seems like it's absolutely massive. So the snowball effect is there. So continue to give back, continue to inspire, continue to put it out there. And that page, like we said at the beginning of all this, it's a safe place for anybody to put yourself in a vulnerable position, because everybody's going to rally behind you one way or another. There is no way in hell that you're going to get a negative response to putting yourself out there. It's the scariest thing to do, but it's also one of the most respectable things to do, because when you put it out there, that's taking ownership of where you're at. And again, later on in life, when you go back and look at that, there's nothing more rewarding than seeing where you are and seeing a picture or a video of where you were. It's unbelievable.
I gotta say it. It may be a record. I've never talked to somebody this long and never asked them what they do for work. I don't even know how you make money these days. What do you do?
Yeah. So thankfully, do just well enough to where Chris is able to be home with the kids, which is nice. So I work for a credit union in the loan sales department there. So basically everything from auto loans, credit cards, anything except a mortgage. So I've been very fortunate to be in that kind of a position. So that pays, well, which is great. And then thankfully, I'm also very, very blessed that, with music and being able to perform, we make a decent amount off of that too, which is a very, very nice side cash. Just mostly funds my my collection, but it doesn't take away from the family at all, which is nice. So it works out. So yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the collection. When you started, before we started having all the internet problems, I saw those damn pictures all over your house. I saw, from what looked like to me, there was a couple of kids' tents down on the ground, and then the rest were like pictures of memorabilia and things everywhere else. And so, tell me about your collection fetish.
Yeah, I love the idea of collecting. I'm a huge movie buff. I love movies, and in particular, I love horror movies and Star Wars. Those are huge flagships, but I just love film in general. There's so much of an emotional connection to me with film, not just because of the movies, but also, the music that goes with movies. It goes back to the John Williams stuff. So much of John Williams' score from Star Wars and Jurassic Park and E.T. and all of that. There's so much emotion for me that gets wrapped into that. So for me, what collecting is it's basically holding on to memories, and that's why the whole house is decorated. I mean, thank God Kristen's cool with it, because there is hardly any wall space in the entire house. It's covered with artwork and signatures and action figures and you name it. And to me, it's just a lot of memories. I love coming home, walking past all that stuff, going into the basement, walking past all this memorabilia. And it's great memories for me growing up with all these movies, but it's also great memories of going out and getting to meet these people and get their autographs and collect different, movie memorabilia and movie props. And it's just, man, I love it. There's just so many adventures and memories from that. I was just down in Texas, actually, in Dallas a couple of weeks ago. They do a convention there called Texas Frightmare, which is absolutely amazing. But I flew into Dallas the morning of. I went and did the con all day, and I flew right back home that night. So like sometimes it's even quick little missions just in and out. I'll be in Anaheim here in a couple of weeks over Memorial Day weekend for the Star Wars convention, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I just so many experiences. You meet so many great people. Kind of the same thing with DDPY. It's like you got your community of people that are health oriented, and then I've got this community of people that are horror buffs and Star Wars buffs, and it's just all these different walks of life, but you're all there for a common thing, which is just really fun.
Well, now I guess you get along with Stephanie's husband, isn't he a collector too there in Chicago?
Yeah, we had a moment when they kind of at the end of the night they gave a little bit of a tour of the house, and I was geeking out with him pretty hardcore because he's got like all but I think 3 regular Nintendo games, so he's got them all out on display. And I still play my Nintendo, my original Nintendo from a kid. I still have hooked up and I play it still. And to see all those games, I was like, holy shit, man. So a lot of Ninja Turtles stuff, and yeah, I was geeking out pretty hardcore upstairs in their house. It was pretty cool.
Hey, I'll tell you another connection that you probably don't know you have. I'll tell you who is a big, huge horror movie buff is Chase Green.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I know Chase.
Chase was the first winner.
First winner, yeah. I've never talked with Chase, honestly.
Well, he's kind of pulled back from the community. He's put the weight back on plus, and now last time I talked to him, he was starting over again. But he doesn't. I don't know how comfortable he is getting back in the community at this stage. But he buys all those. I mean. I forget what it is. He buys them on some platform digitally, and I can't remember what movie platform it is, but he was going to give me, I guess I shouldn't say this on air, but he was going to give me the login, and it was like to thousands of horror movies, but I've never really liked horror movies, so I don't get into horror movies, so I didn't take him up on it. So I guess I didn't break any laws, but but if you ever talk to him, you need to definitely pick his brain about horror movies. He's a huge into that, anything dealing with digital film and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
nice
I'll
guy.
have to try to connect with him sometime because horror is such a big part of my life. It ties back to my mom because my mom and my grandma had introduced me to horror movies when I was younger, and I just fell in love with everything. So that's another deep tie with my mom and my grandma with that as well. But I swear, like horror, that's like a whole other life for me. It's like once I'm at a horror convention, I'm a whole different person. I'm with my people. It's kind of an interesting kind of thing.
My first job was at the, I'll tell you how old I am. We called it the Picture Show, and that tells you how old I am. My first job, Waxahachie had one movie theater, and we called it the Picture Show. And I was 6th grade. I worked in the concession, but I was seeing all the horror movies and stuff. I can tell you that Amityville Horror scared the living shit out of me.
I love Amityville.
But what I wanted to ask you, since you're in that collector's deal, and I don't even know if I can find it anymore, but I used to keep some. They'd get movie memorabilia there at the movie theater, and the employees got to keep some of it. And I used to have this
cool.
little. I had 2 or 3 of them, but it was like a numbered Judge Roy Bean mini poster, and it had like a number or some of it, and I didn't know if that would be worth any money or not. I don't even know if I could find it now, but I thought that was always like that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, a fun story with Amityville too. Now that you kind of mentioned that, so they did the remake for that movie with Ryan Reynolds, and that happened to be filming right after I had, at 18 years old, moved into the apartment. So right out of high school, bought or rented the apartment, so signed the lease for that, and they started filming Amityville shortly after, and they filmed some of that movie in the downtown Antioch, Illinois, where we were living. So I had skipped school early to go home, and I sat up in the apartment. I was watching them film down the main strip, and then the house that they actually used for all the exterior stuff was just over the border in Wisconsin, right by a sledding hill that we go to all the time in the winter. So I went up there and I was watching them film and all this. It was kind of wild to have that movie filmed, so close, and being able to literally sit out of my apartment window and like watch them film downtown. It was awesome. Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds is in it?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds, Melissa George. I can't even think of anybody else. Ryan Reynolds was kind of the big name in that there. I can't think if there was anybody else notable that's coming to mind offhand.
It'd be hard for me to look at him in a serious type role. I'd keep expecting him to make a smart-ass comment of some sort.
Yeah. Very, very different role for him for sure. It took a minute to adapt to that.
I love Ryan Reynolds. All
yeah,
right,
he's good.
man. Let me get down. We're almost 3 hours in, minus some troubles. But let me ask you a couple of questions I asked everybody.
Yeah.
One is, how has social media affected your journey?
So 100% for the positive, and I guess minusculely negative. I think positively it helped a lot because since I didn't start posting until I'd already lost over 70 pounds, I was already well on my way. So there wasn't anything at that point that was going to derail me. I was bulletproof by that point. I could see where if I was posting earlier, if there was negativity or maybe some stuff that could have come up, how that could have impacted, not through the DDP community page, but if I was posting that myself. But I never had any negative outreach from that. I basically started posting every 3 weeks, just my update photos, and that all had gotten, great stuff. And I wasn't posting anything for myself. It was just accountability in general. I made my initial post and I took pictures, my first pictures. I waited, I think, a week or two before even posting them because I guess I was scared of being in that vulnerable position. So my first post I ever made on my personal Facebook page was simply, this is me, this is where I'm at, I am only posting this to hold myself accountable, here we go. And then I just kept up with those every 3 weeks, and that was all great. Once I got into the DDP page with everything and started putting it out there, that had all been very positive, and that worked out really well. And then I think the most difficult transition for me was once I started focusing on the muscle development with everything, because to me that was like a whole new vulnerability, because being a heavier set guy most of my life, you don't want to be that way, but you accept it. And I'd always be the goofy guy at weddings and ripping my shirt off because you don't give a shit. You're just like, whatever, and I think once the weight came off, I got in my head a little bit because I was like, well, I feel like there's some kind of expectation or something, like a standard that needs to be held now that I can't be the goofy fat guy anymore. Now I've lost this weight, and I think that scared me to take pictures of myself like flexing muscles or showing a little bit of ab definition or a little definition in my legs, or that was really scary to me at first because I have never seen myself in that light before. Once I started posting a little bit like that, I got a lot more comfortable with it. But I've stopped posting for probably about 5 months now. I think I've kind of held off with posting health stuff, and just because I think I needed to take a break. I think it got to a point for me where the post started turning into, I don't want to say like receiving feedback, but I think I got into that point where I'm posting and I'm waiting to get some positive reinforcement back, and I didn't want to fish for that, I guess. So I just decided to take a step back for the last couple of months because I know what I'm doing and I know how I feel, and nothing's changing that. And I'll get back to posting here eventually. I just needed to kind of, I guess, take a break, take some time for myself, just keep it real with me, not have to put it out there, and we'll get back there. So nothing negative that came externally. I think there was a little bit of maybe a negative thing internally because I started feeling as if I had to post. Like, I have to make the post. I've got to put it out there. There's an expectation. I've got to show people what I'm doing. I got to keep up with this. And I was like, you know what? Now I'm posting not just for myself anymore. I'm posting because I feel like I have to uphold some kind of a presence. And I didn't want to feel like I had to do that. So I just said, fuck it. I stopped. I just went cold turkey with posting that kind of stuff. I've just focused on posting my collection stuff, and I'll get back to posting eventually, but I just wanted to take some time for me and get out of that mindset because I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole of feeling I had to post. I just want to post because I want to post. I want to inspire, not because I feel like I have to inspire. So just taking a step back for a little bit for myself.
Hey, what's your prized your most prized item in your collection?
Man, I'm so happy you asked. I've got a lot of stuff that I am insanely happy and proud of that I can make the argument for, but there is without a doubt my number one thing is my Empire Strikes Back poster, and that is because the journey that thing has taken me on. The autographs, I'm probably going to miss a name, but I've met Mark Hamill, I've met Carrie Fisher, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, Jeremy Bullock, John Morton, Ian McDiarmid, Clive Reevil, Billy D. Williams, Gary Kurtz, Michael C. Culver. I'm probably missing a couple of people, but I've met all these people and have them on there, and I got the Grail of Grails a couple of years ago. A company was doing a private autograph where you could send your item in, and I've got Harrison Ford on that poster with all these people, and it just, that to me, that's the peak of my collecting. I've got so much amazing shit, but nothing will ever top the fact that Harrison Ford has signed my poster, and that is just the creme de la creme for me. So that is without a doubt my number one item, and it'll never get topped.
What about Lucas?
So, okay, here's a funny story with George Lucas. I've been this close to George Lucas and John Williams. George Lucas, the first Star Wars convention I ever went to was Celebration 5 in Orlando, about 12 years ago now. And we went to that convention. It was my first big Star Wars con. We're in Orlando. George Lucas did a panel being interviewed by Jon Stewart. So we camped out all night to get into it. We're sitting in there in this auditorium. It was unbelievable. We've got a niche, me and my buddies, for running into people at conventions. We always seem to put ourselves in the right spot at the right time. So after the panel ended, we're like, dude, we gotta meet George Lucas. So we found a way to get around the back of the convention where the back entrance was to this auditorium. Not part of the convention, but it's in the same convention hall. So we went over there and we just snuck around probably about 30 minutes. And then some guy shows up and he starts setting up catering somewhere. And we're like, dude, are you setting up catering for George Lucas? Like, is this where they're coming to eat? And he's just like, yeah, but like, shush, you know? We're like, all right, fine. So we waited it out, and about 30 minutes after that, sure as shit, here comes George Lucas and Jon Stewart with a couple of bodyguards, and we're on the main floor. They're upstairs, but, I mean, they're 10 feet away. It's a quiet, open hall. They come walking down, and we're like, George, just trying to get his attention. Neither George Lucas or Jon Stewart even looked our way. There was nobody there except me and my two buddies. There's three of us. And we're just like, Mr.
Man.
Lucas, George didn't even look at us. And they walked by, went into their catering room. Oh, man, it broke my heart. And they went into the catering room. The security guard came over the ledge, who's, 10 feet away from us, just standing up on the ledge. And we're like, hey, man, like, there's literally 3 of us down here. Is there no possible way that we can say hi to him or get a quick picture or just have him sign our poster? Like, there's literally 3 of us. There's not a mob of people. There's 3 kids down here. And he's just like, not a chance, guys. It's not going to happen. We're like, dude. And then about a minute later, 20 cops came in the area, set up a perimeter, and booted us out, and that was it. Like, so I mean, we were that close, but he just did not even acknowledge us, so that was a bummer.
Hey, isn't there a movie where they Star Wars fans go to
Fanboys.
Lucas's house or something? Is that what's it called?
Yeah, it's called Fanboys. Yeah, it's a group of kids that go out to the Skywalker Ranch to steal a copy of Episode 1.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Are you kind of like those guys?
Oh yeah, I've seen that movie probably as many times as I've seen Star Wars, just because like it puts you in that mindset with these like-minded people. But that is some crazy shit that I would do, no doubt.
Yeah. Now the other one that kind of reminds me of, there was a series recently, and I think it was like come out about the time COVID started, and it was some people at Comic-Con, but it was a certain comic that predicted the future, and there was only so many series, but then this one guy finds some more of it in his this girl found some more copies in like a something in a house she inherited, additional copies, and so they're trying to sell it. Have you seen that? It's got like John Cusack in it.
Oh, is that okay, I haven't seen it, but was that an HBO Max movie they released for HBO Max?
But it's a series. It was something,
or the series,
on some streaming service, and it was a series, and it was wild. I mean, it was crazy, and I loved it. And I'm hoping they do a second season, but I think it came out like right at the first, but it's similar, except more. It's way out there, but it's I really enjoyed it. I can't think of the name of it, but it's got John Cusack, and it's got his sister in it, I think, and it's got it's pretty funny, but it's kind of those like fanboys, those they're going off on they find that that I think there's 2 or something series of these comics, and now they found a 3rd or something, but they say it predicts the future of all these conspiracies and things. It's fun. I wish I could remember the name of it. I loved it.
Yeah, I'll seek it out. I remember someone telling me about it. When you mentioned John Cusack, that's when it clicked. I haven't seen it yet, though.
I think it's got a sister in it too, but it's funny as shit. I mean, it's just wild. It's just wild. But it's kind of that fanboy. It's kind of that fanboy movie, but taking, fanboy meets, Devs. Have you ever watched Devs?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that type of deal, or Lost or something. It's
right.
Kind of crazy. All right, I'm running out of questions. What advice do you have to someone just starting out?
Don't get discouraged, no matter what. Never let discouragement settle in and derail you. If you go into this as a lifestyle change, not a diet and an exercise, it's a lifestyle change. Dieting and exercising just happens to be a part of that lifestyle change. That's the best advice I could give anybody is, if you go into it saying, I'm in this to change my life, there's no room for failure, so you don't have to beat yourself up. If it's a lifestyle change, you go 2 weeks good. If you slip up, you know what? Don't beat yourself over with it. It's still okay to enjoy things once in a while. You don't have to go 7 months like I did. If you can, do it. It worked great for me, but if you need to have a little something here and there, that's fine. It is okay, but you need to build rules for yourself for that. Then you can't get discouraged because you chose to have a meal that wasn't the best meal and then let that take you out of whack for the next week, and then everything is for nothing at the end of the day. If it's a lifestyle change, if you allow yourself to have that meal or, that little snack or something, then you wake up the next day and you're right back on it, because your life is no longer what you left behind. It's this new thing. So keep it simple, create some rules for yourself. And for me, the rules, low carb, no sugar, high protein. I just ate everything that fit within that bubble for me to keep it simple for myself, because the biggest battle that you are having with yourself is not losing the weight. It's getting over the mental hurdles of the things that got you to the point to putting that weight on. So it's not about losing weight. That is just a side effect of changing your life. So try to flip where that focus in the mindset is, because if you're only focused on losing weight, at some point that mental side is going to catch up with you. It might be the next day, it might be a couple of weeks, it might be a year later, but at some point that mental side, you're going to have to face it. So if you can get out in front of that and change the way that you think about these things and go into it with a lifestyle change approach, it will guide you and help you so much more on your journey, because one day or another that battle is going to come. We did not get to this point with our weight and becoming food addicts by mistake. There's something mental that's in there that gets us to this point. So the faster you can get out in front of that, let the weight loss be a side effect of overcoming that, because naturally the weight loss will happen. The focus, in my eyes, should not be weight loss. It should be changing your mindset. Let the weight loss be a celebration because you changed your mindset.
What does the future hold for Scotty Bootz Georgeson?
Man, it's beautiful and it's bright, because I've got so much shit that I want to do. I'll tell you one thing. For me, with my music, my music and me wanting to pursue a music career in some capacity is everything to me. I would not be worth existing if it was not for music. And now health is added to that. Taking ownership of my health and changing my mindset around that has given me so much more strength and confidence with everything, that I feel like I'm in the place I need to be to push hard for my music career. So that's the biggest thing for me. Health-wise, I'm going to continue down my path, because that gives me the strength for everything else in my life. The new things that are going to be coming for Scotty Bootz here is 100% going to be my music career, the things I want to do musically. And I'll share this here too. This would be the first time I'm even speaking about this outside of just a couple people that are very close to me. But one thing that I want to do with my music is take my music and flip it to where it's not just this musical approach, but the message of owning your life and owning your health and finding your way through life in a more positive way. I want to deliver that message through music. That's one aspect of what I want to do musically, is create powerful, uplifting music that hits you hard, and lyrics that send a positive message to what it is to own your life and what it is to turn your life around. Because it doesn't matter if you're 18 years old or 75 years old. If you've been struggling with one thing or another, there's always the day. There's always a day one where you can start to change that and flip that around. And if I can get that message across to people musically, that's an ultimate dream of mine. And I got a lot of other things I want to do musically too, but that is one very powerful thing that I would like to deliver, is that strong of a message through music, because music has impacted me so much in my life. And if you can get the right song with the right lyrics to back it up, sometimes that could change somebody's life. And I would love to leave a legacy of music that is impacting people for generations to come. I really want to get my message across through music.
What rules of discipline are you enacting to make that musical goal a reality?
Yeah, so I'm very much infant stage with what I'm doing right now. The one thing I do have in my corner with this is my entire life I've pursued a musical career, and I've been very fortunate to have taken that to being signed with a small indie label, having the opportunity to tour around areas of the United States and play that music and release my music and perform that with the band I was in. So I've been down the road of what it is to take a band and take that to the next level and really put yourself in very unique positions with a band. this, what I want to do, is very much a thing for me. It's not going to be with a group of people. This is just me, Scotty Bootz, solo artist, doing his thing. So I have the discipline embedded from things that I've already been able to do and accomplish, but I'm very much in the infant stages of how that's going to look and how that's going to be put out there. What I do have right now is a shitload of music and a shitload of musical ideas that are recorded on my phone and recorded on the computer. The thing that I'm working on right now is being able to take those ideas, manifest them, get them out to people. So this is very infant stage, but I do have an unbelievable plethora of ideas and things that are going to be up and coming. So it's just grind, make the time and make the time.
What do you use to record your music? What recording device?
Yeah, so for larger productions, I've got everything on the computer where we had originated this, and they kind of booted me off. But I've got my keyboard set up on there. I slave that out as a MIDI controller, so I do everything through a program called Reason. So that's just loaded with an unbelievable amount of different pianos and organs and synthesizers, orchestral things, drums, guitars, I mean, you name it. So everything I do through that program, I record MIDI off the keyboard. Everything's kind of built there, and then I have an interface that runs through the computer, and that allows me to do everything from tracking bass, guitar work, the microphone that I was originally on, I'll use that to track for like acoustic guitar and stuff like that. And then I'm soon going to be getting a drum kit set up and mic'd up because I can track all of that through there as well. So that's the computer. I'm set up pretty good there. The other thing I just recently purchased was a microphone for the phone, because I want to be able to just record something on the go but have like really solid audio quality for it, which I'll start posting some stuff on my Instagram pretty soon here. I've got the setup, but I just purchased a really nice microphone for the phone that I can record through and just do little snippets of songs and stuff like that. So that stuff will be coming pretty soon. But bigger music production stuff, that takes a little bit of time, but just a matter of putting in the work for it.
You know, my little brother told me when I was getting into podcasting that the best thing he ever bought was a Zoom 12. I think a Zoom 12. I don't know, but it's a Zoom a mixer, Zoom mixer that records, and you put an SD card in there and it just does everything. I can't remember. So I've got a Zoom H6 I'm using to interface with the computer and this mic, and I could use up to four or five mics with this H6, and then I've got a Zoom Handycam video, and I really like the Zoom stuff. But that big Zoom 12, I think it's a 12, but it's that sucker. He loves that thing, man. He can't get enough of it.
Oh yeah, those interfaces are awesome because you can track, everything. Just plug in an XLR or like a 1/4 inch and get those tracks right onto the computer. It's super convenient. Now,
I got another question, and I think I remember my little brother telling me this. You said your current band is guitar player, bass guitar player, and a drummer, right?
Yeah.
Who established that as being the normal core for bands?
As far like which band, like going back in the day, which band established that?
Yeah, that makeup of three people. I think my little brother told me this. I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to double check it. But I wanted to see if you'd heard this before. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going with like that power trio, the first band that always comes to mind for me is going to be Rush. But there might be something that predates that. But Rush is always my go-to for a power trio.
I think my little brother told me Muddy Waters established that.
Oh, okay.
The core band for the music. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I have to double check it, but I think Muddy Waters is the guy that established that as the litmus test or the standard that all the bands start with. But I'll have to look it up now. I'm just talking from memory. But hey, are you a fan of Iron Mullet?
I don't know Iron Mullet.
Well, I got a feeling you will soon. I'll talk to you a little bit more after this. But Iron Mullet is a band that Yoga Doc sings for.
Oh, okay.
Iron Mullet. And I saw them at the first summit that they played.
Okay.
We all went to it one night at the summit I went to right before COVID, and Iron Mullet. But what shocked me was how long he could play and sing. I mean, it went on for hours, three and a half hours or something. It was impressive how long he went that night. Yeah, but they play like a lot of metal and a lot of stuff. He likes the metal, but it's a lot of 80s and 90s metal and stuff. But it's called Iron Mullet.
That's awesome. I have to check that out. I've seen his pictures and stuff, but I never knew the name of the group. So
that's cool. I got a feeling you will see them soon. So,
absolutely,
man, you anything that I failed to discuss that you would like? I mean, this is an opportunity to get your story in front of the public the way you want it told to be heard. Is there anything that I missed, or anything you would like to add to our conversation so far?
Yeah, no, man, I feel this was super thorough. I think, everything that I would think of that would come to mind, I feel like I had gotten out there. If I'm gonna put the exclamation point on it, just to reiterate once again, is just mindset of lifestyle changes. Mindset is ridiculously so important. And if you go into this with a lifestyle change approach, it really, really does help to eliminate the discouragement of thinking that you're on a diet and then you broke your diet, or you're on an exercise plan and then you broke your exercise routine. If you just go into it with a lifestyle change approach and know that you're doing this for the long haul, it really helps so much. And that guided me so much on my journey to get through those mental hurdles and work through that discouragement and be able to create this brand new version, of myself, which I see this new version of myself carrying me to new heights that I never could have imagined if I did not get control of what my health was and make that lifestyle change. So I cannot preach it enough. The mindset is everything. Don't focus on weight loss. Focus on changing your mindset and let that weight loss be a side effect to it.
All right, man. Excellent exclamation point. Now, if someone wanted to follow your music, your journey, you as an individual, or for whatever reason they wanted to reach out to you or follow your path, or where can they find you on social media to follow you?
Yeah, probably best bet is on Instagram at Scotty Bootz. I post there regularly. I feel like almost daily. Lately it's been a lot of collection stuff, but if you really, want an insight to who I am, Instagram, I pretty much post everything on there outside of family stuff. So I keep my family stuff more to my Facebook page, but Instagram is everything that's collection related, kind of my adventures through life, health related, music stuff I'll post on her once in a while. So Instagram's the best bet at Scotty Bootz. And then if you want to check out anything musically with the band side of things, that's Facebook, 6B Tranny or 6btranny.com. And if you follow my Instagram,
that name still kills me.
It's the best, man. You don't forget it. So that's your best bet, though.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, man.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Tranny.
Yes, sir.
Isn't there a song about that?
I'm sure.
I can't remember it. Yeah. All right, man. Well, Scotty, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you letting me pick your brain, and I'm sure offend a lot of people out there listening with some of my opinions and things. So, but I appreciate you coming to do this. Your story is definitely inspiring. Your story, I mean, your discipline, your consistency, your keeping it simple, and just, it's just been amazing to watch. Losing 100 pounds, keeping it off. That's the hardest thing I've ever had to do is that long term. I'm 4.5 years in my journey, and I'm 100 pounds back on it. It's keeping it off is that damn. It's what I've been struggling with the worst. And you've showed you've been able to do it 2.5 years, so that's badass, man. I tip my hat to you. Great job, and I hope you and your Kristen, I won't call her baby mama anymore, Kristen, I hope you and Chris have a wonderful life with your 2 kids and your other daughter Riley, and I hope all is well. I'm sending good vibes up there to the great white north, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that a lot, and thank you very much for having me on here and chatting, man. This has been an absolute blast.
Dude. Hey, check out that show. I don't know the name, but the one with John Cusack. Check it out.
I'm gonna find it.
If you like fanboys, you'll get a kick out of that, dude. All right, dude.
Yeah, I'll hunt
Scott,
that out.
Hey, I'm gonna. Yeah. Hang on, cause I gotta tell you what to do. I'm gonna hit stop record, but don't hang up. All right, man.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, thanks for listening. Check out Scotty. Check him out on Instagram, Scotty Bootz, and check out what Bootzilla is doing. He's kicking ass and owning life. So thank you, Scotty. And hold on, don't hang up yet, man.
All right, I'm with you.
All right. Thank you for listening to the podcast today. I'm your host, Vance Hines of Transform with Vance, where transformations begin every day. Please take a moment, if you will, if you like the podcast, to subscribe and follow, and you can find us on social media as well, either under Vance Hines or Transform with Vance. Please tune in and subscribe to our feed. You'll be able to hear lots of transformation stories. I'm in search of interviewing as many transformations as I can find. So if you have a transformation that you would like to have someone interview and have and appear on the podcast, just send me the name and number, message me, and I'll reach out to them and try to get them here. But no matter what, a better life begins on the mat. Get on the mat and start your transformation today. Thank you.